Welcome back to another football commentaries live stream. We have a blockbusting Saturday night Premier League fixture as Arsenal take on Newcastle at the Emirates. The Gunners come into this game off the back of a European defeat away at Porto. It was a 94th minute winner which sunk Arteta's ship, and improvement is much needed after forcing 0 shots on target in the week in that Champions League fixture. Arsenal are currently third, and a loss today would see them 4 points off City and 5 behind leaders Liverpool. Newcastle have struggled in the league this season, sitting in 8th place and are 10 points off Tottenham in 4th. But their main problem for Eddie Howe's side this season has been their away form, just 3 wins in 12 in the league away from St James's Park. 2 of those 3 wins coming in 2024. The last time these two sides met was full of controversy, with Newcastle scoring a questionable winner in the 64th minute through Gordon, as there was a 4-minute VAR check to see if the ball had gone out of play in the build-up. No conclusive evidence could be found, and the goal stood, with Newcastle becoming the first team to defeat Arsenal in the league this season. So, for the 193rd meeting, will it be Arsenal to make it 12 Premier League home games unbeaten in a row against Newcastle, or will it be the away side to win their first game here at the Emirates since November 2010? This game was very fiery last time out. It was as mentioned just then, a very controversial game. In the first half, you might remember Kai Havertz being quite lucky to still be on the pitch. He put in a flying challenge, which was seen as a yellow. And then in the second half, Newcastle scored that goal with Anthony Gordon, which they couldn't find any evidence to say it definitely gone out of play. So the on-field decision of a goal stayed in place, and all hell broke loose once that decision was made. I think that was the game where Arsenal put in a complaint to the PGMOL or something like that, where they put out a club statement about it, and it massively went out of hand. But I think there will be a sense of maybe revenge for Arsenal, wanting to get one back over Newcastle, who did win that game in the 64th minute. In that stage of the season, that put Newcastle into 6th, and it kept Arsenal in 3rd. That game was in early November. We're now in late February, and that is the case still with Arsenal. They are 3rd at the moment, but with Newcastle, they've slipped down to 8th position. If they win tonight, they can go up to 7th and overtake Brighton, who was only able to draw today at home to Everton. But in terms of Arsenal, if you forget their game in the week against Porto in the Champions League, their last Premier League game was a very, very dominant 5-0 win away at struggling Burnley. Goal scoring started quickly in the 4th minute with Martin Ødegaard, and then goals also came from the likes of Leandro Trossard, Kai Havertz, and twice Bukayo Saka scored, one of them from the penalty spot. And in their last 5 Premier League games, Arsenal have won them all in a row, and they have scored 21 and conceded just 2. So in the league at the moment, they are on fire. Just a slight blip in the week in that 1-0 defeat to Porto, which looked like it was going to be a 0-0 game all the way through in terms of the added on time. But right at the end, Galeno for Porto scored. I thought it was quite a nice goal. It was a good finish. There is question marks over David Raya and his position, and he was a little bit off his line, and it was able to go over him into the bottom corner. So you could definitely question the goalkeeping positioning. But from an angle, from there's an angle that BT Sport showing that it was just from behind the shot, and it looked like a beautiful goal the way it curled back inside the post. But it's a deficit that Arsenal are going to have to overturn when they take on Porto again in around 2 or 3 weeks' time. They play at Porto on the 12th of March. But before that, they'll play Sheffield United away in the league and Brentford at home. So they have got 2 easier fixtures coming up in the league before having to take on Porto again. For Newcastle next week, their attention turns to the FA Cup. They've got Blackburn Rovers away from home, and then in the league they've got to take on the likes of Wolves at home and Chelsea away. So some difficult fixtures coming up for Newcastle. As mentioned, just 3 wins away from home this season in the league. It came against Sheffield United in September, where they won by 8-0, and then 2 in 2024, where they got a very impressive win away at Aston Villa, and another strong victory away at Nottingham Forest, a team that beat them at St James's Park a couple of months ago. So it's definitely the away form that is letting Newcastle down this season in the league. And they are currently 2 unbeaten away from home at the moment, as it stands, with their 2 last away games being those 2 victories against Aston Villa and Forest. The last time they went 3 unbeaten away from home was in fact this season, when they beat Sheffield United 8-0 and then picked up their 2 away draws, which were against West Ham and Wolves, and they both ended 2-2. But if they want to be aiming for those European spots, which is the top 7, they will need to be picking up more points and trying to get above Brighton in 7th place at the moment. They can go above them tonight with a win. A win only would put them above Brighton. A draw would put them a point behind the Seagulls. But for Arsenal, you feel like every game at the moment in this title race is a must-win for them to keep track and keep on sight with the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool. If they win tonight, they'd stay a point behind City and they'd just be 2 behind Liverpool. And a defeat makes that just seem a lot harder. Even though it'd only be 4 points behind City and 5 behind Liverpool, it's a bigger gap than you believe, really, when there's only 12 games left of the season for both sides after tonight. Here are both sides entering the field at the Emirates. We'll go through both sides quickly. We'll start with the Arsenal team. It is David Raya in goal, who did make that positioning mistake for the goal against Porto in the week. Back 4 of Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel, and at left back continuing is Jakob Kivior, who's making his 3rd start in a row in the Premier League. 2 holding midfielders, Declan Rice making his 230th Premier League appearance. He'll play alongside Jorginho, who's only started one of the previous 13 in the Premier League, and that was against Liverpool at home. It seems like Arteta trusts the Italian in the big games, and just in front of them is going to be Martin Ødegaard, who scored against Newcastle last season in the away win at St James's Park. 2 out wide on the right is going to be Bukayo Saka, who's making his 160th Premier League appearance, and on the left is going to be Gabriel Martinelli, who has the 1 goal against Newcastle in his previous 8, and it came in a 2-0 home win back in the 21-22 season. And leading the line up front, it seems like he'll be in a false 9 position, and that will be Kai Havertz, who is still in search of his 25th Premier League goal of his career. He's already got 5 this season for Arsenal, and just the 1 at home, which came against Brighton back in mid-December. For Newcastle, a shock start for Loris Karius. Martin Dubravka has fell unwell, so it means that the German 30-year-old makes his 2nd ever appearance for Newcastle. His 1st and only appearance for the away side tonight was last year, nearly a year ago now, to the day where he was in net for Manchester United's League Cup win against Newcastle. And he is in for his 30th Premier League appearance. In his previous 29 for Liverpool, he kept 13 clean sheets. Back 4 of Kieran Trippier, who makes appearance 175 in the Premier League. At left back is Tino Livramento, who's making appearance number 49. And 2 centre-backs are Fabian Schär and Sven Botman. 3 midfield holding will be Bruno Guimaraes, and then the 2 in front of him will be Lewis Miley and Sean Longstaff, who both came through the Newcastle Academy. 3 up front on the right is going to be Miguel Almiron, making appearance number 200 for Newcastle. On the left is Anthony Gordon, who's searching for his 10th Newcastle goal, and leading the line up front, looking for his 25th Newcastle goal, and that is Alexander Isak. He was missing from the last 3 games due to a groin injury, which he also struggled with in October and November, but he's back tonight as Callum Wilson still remains injured for Newcastle, and Isak has got 10 in 17 in the league, with 2 braces coming in, those 10 goals, scoring braces against Aston Villa in the first game of the season for Newcastle, and against West Ham United as well in the 2-2 away draw. They are the 2 lineups in this Saturday night Premier League kick-off. We have got Loris Karius in goal for Newcastle. Spent 4 years at Liverpool, making 49 appearances. He obviously made that huge error in the Champions League final back in 2018. And this is his first game in just under a year. The game against Manchester United in the League Cup final was on the 26th of February. This game, obviously, tonight is on the 24th. So it's almost been a whole year since Loris Karius last played a first-team match for Newcastle. But I'm sure Eddie Howe will have full faith in the German that he can perform, because in that League Cup final, if I remember rightly, Loris Karius didn't actually have the worst of games. He had a solid performance. So they'll be looking for something similar, because he might be busy tonight. He should be anyway. Arsenal didn't have a shot on target against Porto in the week, so they'll definitely want to change that tonight, and they will want to be getting shots on target as regularly as possible. So it'll be Arsenal to kick us off, kicking left to right. Newcastle right to left here at the Emirates, who will come out on top. Arsenal need the 3 points to stay in the title race. Newcastle need the 3 points to remain within the race for European spots come the end of the season. As Martinelli's cross on the far side deflects off Trippier, and that will be a corner kick for Arsenal. On that far side, it will be taken here by number 41, Declan Rice, who's very recently started taking the set pieces for Arsenal, collecting an assist against West Ham a couple of weeks ago in their thumping of the Hammers. As Declan Rice delivers it, it's an in-swinger into the 6-yard box, header away by Longstaff, back out to Rice on the left-hand side. Can he work another cross? It deflects away for another corner. So Declan Rice will have a second bite at it. It was a teasing corner, that first one, just floating it into the 6-yard box with a little bit of curl. But it was well met there by Longstaff. But Newcastle have got some more early defending to do here. As once again, near post, flicked on by White, controlled by Saliba, wants to shoot, poked away from him, falls to the edge of the box to Saka, who lets fly. And that goes straight over the crossbar, no deflection on that one. Goal kick for Newcastle. There's a good ball there from Rice. It was helped on by Ben White. And as Saliba was trying to touch and turn and shoot, he was getting a little bit of a pull in the back, but Saliba didn't ask any questions for a penalty. He just got on with it, and it eventually dropped to Saka on the edge of the box after having the ball laid off to him by Jorginho. And Saka could only hit it over the crossbar. As on the halfway line, Livramento gives the ball away to Declan Rice. It's sprayed out to the right by Jorginho to White. Forward to Saka. On once more to Ødegaard. 1-2 with a Norwegian. Saka tackle from behind fairly by Lewis Miley. And it's Newcastle on the ball with Anthony Gordon in the left-back position. Goes down the line to Livramento. Tackled by Jorginho. And it's a throw in here on the near side for Newcastle. Midway side of their own half. It's been a quick start from Arsenal, who are in a current run of 5 Premier League games in a row with victory, scoring 21 and only conceding the 2, as they did have a pretty horrid December. Arsenal picking up 1 win in 5 from December 9th to December the 31st. As there is Karius with his first touch of the ball. Plays it to Cher. He's been tackled fairly by Havertz. He's been sent wide towards the corner flag, and then he's been tackled and he fouls Trippier himself, and that'll be a free kick for the away side. Just needing to be careful there. Fabian Cher taking too long on the ball once he'd received it from Karius, and Havertz was quick on the scene to tackle him fairly. Got in front of his clearance and it sent him wide, and Havertz couldn't quite keep the possession, eventually fouling Trippier, but good pressing to close down Fabian Cher, who made his 150th Premier League appearance last time out against Bournemouth at home last week, where Newcastle was only able to draw 2-2 with a late equaliser from Matt Ritchie. As Karius sends it long down the Newcastle right, free header for Kivior to the halfway line to Havertz, flicks it inside here to Saka, keeping it away from Guimaraes, but losing out to Miley. But I think as Saka kicked the ball up into the air, it come off the hand of a Newcastle player. So on the halfway line, it's going to be an Arsenal free kick, and I believe it will be taken here by Jorginho. He plays it over the top here for Havertz, cut out on the edge of the box by Cher, nods it out to the right back Trippier, ball inside towards Miley, misplaced, it's chested down by Ødegaard to Jorginho, and it's now back in the centre circle here with Gabriel, goes across to his teammate of William Saliba. Gabriel out to the left back of Kivior, who's in for the currently injured Alexander Zinchenko. As Kivior brings it forward here, lays it off to Martinelli to his right, who's just about 5 yards inside the Newcastle half. He's going to play the switch out towards the right-hand side, cut out by Livramento, touches it into Gordon, who passes the halfway line. Livramento's continued his run forward, but Gordon doesn't use him, goes back inside to Guimaraes, who then finds the ball back to Botman, and just inside the Newcastle half, it's their back four in possession. And here is Sven Botman, who made his 50th appearance in the Premier League last week in that draw to Bournemouth. As they got out to the far side here, Almiron back into Trippier. Not many options, but he's played it in front of him here to Guimaraes, who's been pickpocketed there by Gabriel, and it's now Havertz to take over, just drifting out to the Arsenal left there. Plays it inside to the right to Jorginho, and then across to Ødegaard. Midway inside the Newcastle half now is Ben White on the ball on this near side. Saka's making a run in behind. He's going to look for him. Cut out by the head of Livramento. Drops here to Guimaraes, who goes out towards the left-back position. Kicks it off Ødegaard, and it'll be a throw-in in a left-back area for the away side. And Newcastle's last defeat was 6 games ago in that 3-2 loss at home to Manchester City back on the 13th of January. So they're around 6 weeks now without a defeat in all competitions. And for Newcastle, before this run of 4 unbeaten, they had gone 6 in 7 with defeat in the league, winning at home to Fulham, but then losing to Everton, Spurs, Luton, Forest, Liverpool and Manchester City. Karius, ball forward, headed away by Gabriel, ahead of Almiron. Drops out to the left here to Martinelli. Ball to the right to Jorginho. Through in between the lines for Havertz. Out to the left here to Martinelli in the final third. Trying to run here at Longstaff. Goes for an early cross instead towards Havertz. Cut out by Botman, still alive in the area. Havertz heads it out to the edge of the area here to White. Across to Ødegaard, 25 yards out from goal. Plays it into the area. Cut out by Trippier, ahead of Martinelli. It's now Almiron. Finds Trippier. Backheels it into Almiron. Good play here from Newcastle as Almiron's brought down by Ødegaard. And that'll be a yellow card for the captain. Easy decision for tonight's referee of Paul Tierney, the 43-year-old, whose last game in charge of an Arsenal fixture was their 5-0 home win to Crystal Palace on the 20th of January. Yeah, just mistiming the challenge there. Martin Ødegaard sliding in, trying to win the ball back as quickly as possible, but taking out Almiron in the process and picking up a yellow card. It's now with the left back Livramento. Forward here to Guimaraes. Back out to the left to Livramento. Won't be able to keep the ball in. And it'll be a throw in for Arsenal just inside the Newcastle half. Does make it awkward for Livramento being on his weaker side. He is usually a right back, but he can be used at left back, but it is his weaker side. His stronger foot is his right foot. So he had to almost try and control the ball with his right instead of letting it come across his body and controlling with his left. So it's Arsenal the ball in their 18-yard box with the goalkeeper Raya. Forward to the edge of the area to Rice. Plays it to the left centre half here of Gabriel. Quickly moving it to Kivior. Ahead of the presser Longstaff. Then down the line to Gabriel Martinelli, who controls it out wide and he can't quite keep the ball in. And it'll be a throw in midway side their own half for Newcastle on the far side. The big controversy in the last game for Newcastle's goal against Arsenal in the 1-0 win at St James's Park was if the ball went out for their goal in the build-up. It included Joe Willock and it was moved and it was finished off by Gordon. But that wasn't given. His sack has been fed in the box here. He shoots towards goal. It deflects to the near post and straight into the hands of Karius. Good ball forward there. Well, it was actually a poor ball forward there by Jorginho, but it eventually dropped to Ødegaard, who found Rice. He slipped it through to Saka. There was questions of offside, but nothing was given. But nothing came of it anyway. As Guimaraes on the edge of the box, surrounded by red shirts. He has to go back to his goalkeeper, Karius, who clears it forward first time. Onto the halfway line. He goes over Isak, controlled comfortably by Saliba, who's been forced to go back here to Raya on the edge of the 18-yard box. Clears it himself, long out to the right-hand side, towards nobody really. He was aiming for Saka, but it had gone well out of play before it could even get anywhere near the English winger. And it'll be a Newcastle throw in here on the near side. And it's strange their form away from home for Newcastle, because they've lost 7 away from home in the league this season. And in the entirety of last season, they only lost 3 to Liverpool, Manchester City and Aston Villa. And they are respectable places to go and lose. So it's strange how their away form is completely flipped around. But it's something they need to fix as soon as possible. Is Trippier on the edge of the box. Just about pokes it away towards Isak, headed our way by Gabriel as far as Almiron, who turns forward. He's got Kieran Trippier ahead of him, but he goes behind him here to the edge of the area to share. Out to the right now to Trippier. Can't find a ball inside to Guimaraes. Picked up by Rice. Ødegaard on the edge of the box. On his left foot. Tries to lift it through towards Havertz. Just trying to be too intricate there, Ødegaard. Could have maybe got the shot off instead, but looked for the number 29 of Kai Havertz, who could not get on the end of the Ødegaard pass there. Botman clips it forward for Newcastle out to the left. It's White to get there ahead of Gordon. Finding Saka midway inside the Newcastle half. Jorginho, Ødegaard round the corner here for Rice, who enters the box. Can he let fly? He can do! And it's straight at Karius. And he palms the ball away for a throw-in right next to the corner flag. He'll be frustrated with himself there, Declan Rice. Should have done better than that. Already has the 4 goals for Arsenal in the league. Declan Rice's a ball was played forward there for Arsenal. Saka offside. Free kick for Newcastle. But Declan Rice there entering the box and just hitting it straight at Karius. He should have at least tried to have made him work for that, making him possibly go for a dive across goal, but it was straight at the German goalkeeper and he could just easily palm it away for a throw-in. He takes his free kick here out towards Gordon, goes beyond him and White, but Gordon was caught in an offside position somehow. So I believe it'll be an Arsenal free kick here for offside. Just not quite sure how Gordon's found himself offside there from that free kick. It was almost like a goal kick. So I just don't know how he's not been able to keep himself in front of Ben White at least. As it is White with the free kick, he's just thinking about where to play this pass. He goes back here into Saliba. He's now with Raya in the 18-yard box, who's got Isak closing him down. He's closing him down very much so, and he just about shifts it to Gabriel. Finds Kivior at left back. Trippier's pressing him, and he kicks it off the Englishman. It deflects inside to Jorginho, who finds Martinelli on the left. Back towards Jorginho, who tries to volley it forward, caught by Almiron, and that'll be a free kick for Arsenal. Late challenge there by the Paraguayan, who's only got 1 Premier League goal in his last 18. Making his 170th Premier League appearance and appearance number 200 for Newcastle. For Almiron as Declan Rice gets in between the lines on the left-hand side and feeding it into the path of Martinelli. 1-on-1 with Trippier onto his right foot. Plays it to the edge of the area to Jorginho, who clips it into the area, volleyed away by Botman towards the penalty spot. It loops in the air and it headed forward by Jorginho and volleyed by Cher. Headed forward again by Jorginho and helped away by Gordon for Newcastle, controlled by White. And he finds Gabriel in the centre circle. Forward and out to the right to Ødegaard. He's got a bit of pocket of space here. And he finds Saka in the area. Goes to the edge of the box here to Ødegaard. He tries to curl the cross in. Blocked by Miley. A deflection goes towards Isak, who's tackled by Jorginho. And it's Arsenal back in possession. On the far side here in the final third with Martinelli. Not many options to aim for in the box. So has to go back here to Jorginho. Cross to the right to Ødegaard into the space for Ben White, who wants to cross, plays it to the left instead to Ødegaard, who clips it to the far post towards Martinelli, who heads it forward. It was going well wide, but it's been saved by Loris Karius anyway. As for Newcastle here, Kieran Trippier has gone down, and it's not a great view for Newcastle supporters, making his 175th appearance tonight. Kieran Trippier in the Premier League. 6 goals and 35 assists. Hopefully it's nothing too serious for the 33-year-old right back. So we're 13 minutes in. It's been all Arsenal to start off this match. And for Arsenal, they've got a great record against Newcastle in this fixture at the Emirates. Ayoze Perez was the last player to score for Newcastle in an away game for Newcastle at Arsenal, and that was back in December 2014. Arsenal have kept 7 consecutive clean sheets against Newcastle at home in the Premier League, with Newcastle failing to score from their last 63 attempts here at the Emirates. So it's usually a fixture that Arsenal dominate at this ground, but they were held to a 0-0 last time out, last season. That was back in January, where Arsenal had the 17 shots, but just the 4 on target, and Newcastle were able to walk away with a point that day. As we're back underway, midway side the Arsenal half with Gabriel. Trippier is back to his feet, and he is playing once again, so I'm not sure what the issue was with the experienced full-back, but whatever it was, he's been able to continue here for Newcastle. It's still with Arsenal inside their own half here. Ben White in a midfield position, being closed down by Guimaraes. Shifts it to his right to Saliba. Down the line for Saka, 1-2 with the French centre-back, who then back heels it into White. Then across to Jorginho, into the centre circle, looking to try and find a player in the Newcastle half. Jorginho brings it forward himself, lays it off to his right, 5 yards to White. Furthest right here is Saka. 1-on-1 with Livramento. Finding the ball to his left to Ødegaard, who then goes back to Saliba on the halfway line. Try to find the next best pass. Saliba. He's going to go for a switch out to the left. He's asking a lot of Martinelli, who will lose out the header to Trippier, but it falls all as far as Kivior in the final third. Martinelli back into Jorginho here, 25 yards from goal, just peeling out towards the left-hand side. Going across to Gabriel. Then back out to the left here to Jorginho. Forward for Martinelli. Turns forward. Enters the area. Lays it out to the left here to Kivior, who keeps it in towards the byline. Pulls it back here for Martinelli, who's still quite far wide here for Arsenal. It's now Jorginho on the ball. Kivior's to his left. He finds the Polish international. He goes inside to Gabriel. Arsenal just being calm and composed in their possession. Good ball into the box here for Martinelli, who turns, tries to get onto his right foot. Tackle by Trippier. Can be recollected here for Rice, who dribbles towards the corner flag and plays the ball back here to Gabriel. It's been very dominant so far from Arsenal. They've had all of the ball for the opening 15 minutes here, as they're back towards the halfway line here with Gabriel. Goes across to Jorginho. Curling out to the right to Ødegaard. Now into Saka. Midway inside the Newcastle half. Saka drives across the field towards the central area. Goes out to the left to Kivior, who's just delaying the next pass and goes across here to Saliba. All outfield players are currently in the Newcastle half as the Magpies sit deep. Ball forward for Ødegaard. Havertz takes it on the turn. Lays it off for Jorginho, 25 yards out. There's a run of White in behind. He lifts it towards him. It's instead towards Saka. And it's had to be sliced behind by Livramento for a corner kick on the near side. I think Jorginho's intended target was Ben White, but eventually it went closer to Saka, who then tried to take over. But unfortunately for the English right winger, it was Livramento to clear it away from him. So, Arsenal, can they make the most of this dominant start? Saka with a left-footed in-swinger towards the near post. It's a free header one. It's a great save. It needs to be cleared off the line. And it's gone over. It's an Arsenal goal, and it is what they deserve. Gabriel scores his 5th goal of the season in the Premier League. He's really coming up with the goods for Arsenal in terms of goals, alongside his strong defensive work at the back. But at the near post, he got up the highest and headed it towards goal. It was definitely saved by Karius, but I just don't think he could avoid it going over the line. He did avoid it going over the line, but Newcastle failed to clear it, and oh, it's an absolute mess. It definitely won't go down as a Gabriel own goal. His header was superbly saved by Karius as he palmed it forward. Newcastle couldn't clear. Karius palmed it into the air. One Newcastle player missed the ball completely, and then eventually bounced off a Newcastle knee over the line. That is an absolute mess. Let's have a look here. Header at the near post. Saved so well by Karius. Great reaction save. It loops towards the line. Botman swings for it. He completely missed it. Livramento tried to clear it. He kicked it onto the knee of Botman, and then it went over the line. That is an absolute disastrous goal for Newcastle to concede. Karius did the hardest bit for his team, saving the Gabriel header, which was hit with some force with his head. And I'm surprised that one didn't go over the line, but Karius kept it out. But it was Botman who completely missed the first clearance. And then when Livramento tried to swing at it, he almost just passed it away. Instead of just getting his foot through it, passed it onto the knee of Botman, which then diverted it back towards goal. And Karius couldn't keep that one over the line. And somehow, some way, Arsenal have got the lead through that just collection of errors at the back there. I'm not saying it's an error from Karius, not at all. His save was superb. But the mistake from Botman to completely miss the first clearance, and then from Livramento to not just get his foot right through that ball, is absolutely beyond me. As Newcastle need to defend again. That's a better clearance from Botman on the 6-yard line. goes out for an Arsenal throw-in on the far side. There's 1-0 to the home side. It's not a Gabriel goal. That'll go down as a Botman own goal. And that is absolutely Sunday League stuff from Newcastle at the back. And it is the home side who lead. These 3 points put them 1 behind Manchester City and the 2 behind Liverpool. And they are looking for their 6th Premier League win in a row. Jorginho lifts out to the left to Kivior. He's got everything to his right. Lifts it into the area. Controlled down by Cher. Plays out to the right here to Trippier. He's got his back to the pitch. And as he tries to turn and clear, it comes off Kivior to Martinelli, who loses his footing. Falls to Longstaff, who can clear down the right-hand side. Finds Isak, who I think is getting his first few touches of the ball here in the game. And he's dispossessed by Saliba. Martinelli inside to Havertz. In the box, he tries to take on the shot, but instead trips over Guimaraes. And that'll be a free kick for Newcastle just inside their 18-yard box. Such a good save from Karius, who starts tonight for a ill Dubravka, and Pope is still injured. And it's a thumping header at the near post by Gabriel. And he saved it so well, but he just palmed it just slightly into the air where it just needed to be cleared. Somehow Botman just completely missed it. And Livramento got the worst clearance to it. Just a little tap on his foot, straight onto Botman's knee, who then, through that deflection, put it over the line. Newcastle fans, well, everyone associated with Newcastle, will be so frustrated with how that goal's gone in. But at the end of the day, it's what they deserve. They deserve to be behind. They've done nothing going forward, and they've seemed to have been, you can see that they're under pressure early on in this game as we're just 21 minutes in. And Arsenal lead 1-0. Saka takes it on the turn, plays out to the right to White. First time cross into the box, cleared by Botman, not very convincing. It's eventually helped away by Cher. Out to the Arsenal right to Ødegaard, great control. Back to the halfway line to Saliba. Forward quickly for White, zips it in for Saka. Havertz, back to Jorginho. First time ball looking out to the left here to Martinelli, cut out by Trippier. His pass deflects off Rice, through to Isak, who lays it off for Longstaff, who tries to return it to the Swedish striker. But it goes straight through to Gabriel instead, who finds David Raya on the edge of the 18-yard box for Arsenal. And it's the home side back in possession for the result that they picked up in the week, Arsenal, with the 1-0 defeat in Porto. This has been a really good response. They've completely played Newcastle off the park at the moment. And it's Jorginho on the halfway line. He's got Guimaraes in front of him. Goes across to the left there to Gabriel, who's making his 120th appearance in the Premier League, and he almost got his 15th goal. But unfortunately, his attempt was saved. And it was Botman to divert it behind that white line to give Arsenal the lead. It's now Saka on the right into the final third. He's got some ground to make up here as he's got quite the distance away from the goal on the far side. It finds Jorginho around the corner here for Ben White in the area. Lays it off towards Rice. Deflects away from him from Martinelli. On the edge of the box, he strikes it himself. It comes off the head of Cher. Deflects out to the right to Saka, who controls it in the area really well, but his pass comes off Miley, and he hurries a clearance away with his left foot. And it's controlled down by Saliba, and again Arsenal will come forward with it. Jorginho in behind. Martinelli controls it. He's been sent wide with his touch, but he pulls it across here to Havertz, who strikes! And Arsenal double their lead. It's a superb goal, which started with a sublime pass from Jorginho. The touch from Martinelli sent himself wide towards the byline, but before it went out of play, he could pull the ball back across goal, finding Havertz, who from 6 yards out had the easiest finish to get his 6th of the season in the league. It's his 2nd at the Emirates. His last one came in mid-December to Brighton. But Arsenal have been nothing short of absolutely fantastic. It wasn't the greatest clearance from Miley. It did reach the halfway line to Saliba, who on this near side played it to his left to Jorginho, who played a ball around the corner. Trippier playing everyone on side on the edge of the box. So Martinelli was certainly on. His touch played himself wide, but he got himself away from Botman, which was the most important thing. And then the ball across is perfect. And how on earth Havertz is allowed just to latch onto that like he's all on his own and just stroke it beyond Karius with that right foot of his. All on his own, Havertz. That is awful defending. No one's near him. He's in between the likes of Schär, Trippier, Longstaff, but none of the Newcastle players could even lay a glove on Arsenal's 29. And here at the Emirates on this Saturday night, it is Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. This is dangerous. This is scary. This is fantastic football from Arsenal. They lead 2-0. Good goal from Havertz, being in the right place at the right time, playing that striker role tonight. And that is his 25th goal ever in the Premier League. 19 of them came for Chelsea. And now the 6 for Arsenal. But Arsenal's response has just been nothing short of just breathtaking. This is a real message to Manchester City and Liverpool, telling them that they are not out of this title race. No way at all. We mentioned before how it's not a very good ground for Newcastle to come to. Just scoring goals. Like I say, Arsenal have kept 7 consecutive clean sheets here against Newcastle. And the draw last season, the 0-0 draw, stopped a run of 10 wins in a row against Newcastle here. But the fact that Newcastle just haven't scored since December 2014 in this fixture is quite worrying. And they haven't won here away from home since November 2010. They've actually won 4 times against Arsenal away. One of them at the Emirates and 3 at Highbury as Ødegaard wins it off Schär, plays it across towards Havertz. It's a vital poke away from Longstaff and it's out for a corner. And we are seeing exactly why Newcastle have been struggling away from home. They're being outplayed. Karius played it to the left centre-back of Schär. Just took too long on it. And then his pass towards Guimaraes just went straight to Ødegaard, whose ball across was searching for Havertz, but it was cut out vitally by Sean Longstaff. But Newcastle just seem completely lost and pretty overwhelmed. They're being outplayed on another level here. As it'll be Rice with the in-swinger. It's a floater towards the far post. It's an easy catch in the end there for Karius. We can't send it out quickly because no one's up there for Newcastle. So he'll roll it out to the left here to Botman. Forward to Miley. Allowed to turn here. Brings it forward. Chops away from Saka and Rice. And plays it to his left here to Livramento. And back to Botman, who's midway inside the Newcastle half here. Looking for those options. Not got much in terms of going forward. Does find the pass forward to Longstaff. Guimaraes here now to Almiron, who takes over. Allows the run of Isak so he can try and find him in the box, but it's cut out by Saliba. Strong defending from the Frenchman. And it's now with Raya in the Arsenal goal. Clears it with his left foot towards the Arsenal left flank. But it's gone all the way through here to Fabian Schär. A bit better there from Newcastle. Some lively movement from Almiron picking up the ball on the halfway line, but nothing resulted. Nothing came as a result in the end for Newcastle, who do make the 3 changes from last week with their draw with Bournemouth. Obviously the change of goalkeeper with Dubravka ill, but then Burns been swapped out for the Livramento, and then Barnes has been replaced by Isak, who's not been in the game very much, but that's a great switch out to the right for Newcastle. Ball inside to Almiron in the area. Touch forces him outside the box. Gets across into the far post. Header away by White. Volley by Saka in the area. Loops in the air. It'll be Botman here to challenge Havertz, whose touch drops nicely for Rice, who can get away from Longstaff. Rice charging down the left-hand side, entering the Newcastle half. Being tackled, though, by Trippier. And it'll roll out for a throw-in for Arsenal in the Newcastle half. It's Arsenal on the ball, on the halfway line here with their number 20, Jorginho, as mentioned before, but just the one start for him in the previous 13 in the league, and that came against Liverpool in their home win. And as we've mentioned, it just seems like when it comes to the more important games, Mikel Arteta does prefer to play with the Jorginho and Rice pivot in the holding midfield positions. Just brings a bit more security and a bit more freedom for Ødegaard as well, who knows he's got 2 more defensive-minded midfielders behind him. As Raya goes long for Havertz, Karius comes out of his area and clears it away. Good goalkeeping. he's had an okay game, Karius. He's just been completely let down by his defence, and I'm struggling to find words to describe this defensive performance so far from Newcastle. It's just strange. They just seem all over the place, and Karius can only do so much of his tackling. His Almiron fouls Jorginho. It's actually Bruno Guimaraes, to foul Jorginho from behind. The Brazilian midfielder is certain it wasn't a foul, but poor Tierney, the referee's given it to the way of Arsenal here. Let's have a look. No, I didn't get any of the ball there. Clear foul by Guimaraes. Mikel Arteta certainly not happy. The Arsenal manager taking charge of his 160th game in the Premier League. Coming up towards 100 wins in the Premier League as well. Arteta is a Premier League manager. He's currently on 92 at the minute, and it looks like it'll probably be 93 by the end of tonight's game. And it probably won't happen today as well for Eddie Howe, but he is looking for his 100th Premier League win. He's currently on 99 at the moment. As we're back underway, Jorginho forward to Ødegaard, out to the right now to Saka. Plays it to Ødegaard again in the final third. Back heels it into Saka, it's beautiful football. Saka on the byline, works the cross in, and it's the header. Won by Martinelli, and over the bar it goes. I think it'd just gone behind the Brazilian, so he just had to kind of try and lean back as much to get the header, get the contact with the ball with the head. And it's just too far behind him, and it's just gone over the crossbar there. Really good play from Ødegaard to find that back heel into Saka. It was beautiful to watch, but Martinelli couldn't divert his header on target. As we head back to the action here, and I think it's a Newcastle free kick. I didn't see what happened because they were showing the replay of the Martinelli header, but it is Newcastle on the ball on their edge of the 18-yard box here with Botman, forward to Longstaff. Out to right back Trippier. Former Spurs fullback finds the ball forward to Isak. Back into Longstaff. Bit of possession here for the away side, but it is inside their own half here at the moment. Botman out to the left here to Gordon. Finds the pass to Guimaraes, who will go over the top looking for the run of Miley. He will chase down Saliba, who will go back to Raya, who takes the touch here and goes back out to the right to Saliba. Had to get that right, Raya, because Miley was closing him down quickly. As it's Ødegaard, he's just peeled out to this right-hand side here. Goes back to Jorginho. He completes an easy 1-2 with Rice. And the Italian midfielder can bring it forward and lifts it out to the left here to Kivior, who controls calmly. And it's now on the halfway line here with Declan Rice. No Newcastle players pressing the ball at the moment, so it's loads of time for Jorginho to get his head up, find the pass. Finds Rice in the centre circle to his left. Now with Kivior, the left back. Forward to Martinelli. Back inside here for Rice. The only thing Arsenal don't want to do is just take their foot off the gas and allow Newcastle back in the game, because the away side haven't been in it at all in the opening 32 minutes and 37 seconds of this game. Gabriel. As Arsenal attack down the far side, it finds Rice, plays it through for Martinelli. We know he's got the pace. I don't think he's got enough to keep that in. And that'll be a goal kick. Blistering pace there from Martinelli, but the Rice pass was just slightly overhit, even for the speed of the winger for Arsenal, who was brought in July 2019, for £6 million. Gabriel Martinelli. He is an absolutely ridiculous player, but he has failed to score in his last 4 against Newcastle. The Brazilian winger. His Newcastle player out from the back. In a left-back position with Guimaraes. Goes backwards looking for Botman. Nowhere near the Dutchman. And it'll go out for an Arsenal corner. Just not at the races at all tonight, Newcastle. And Eddie Howe knows it. Doesn't have a brilliant record against Arsenal, Eddie Howe. 3 wins in 16. Just 1 win in the first 12. He's never beat them away from home. So on this near side, it'll be an Arsenal corner. I'm presuming it'll be a left footer to take it, as it'll make it an in-swinger, trying to get it towards Karius. It is Saka to go short, though, to Martin Ødegaard. It's now out to the edge of the box to Jorginho. Forward to Ødegaard, who lifts it into the area. Header away on the 6-yard line there by Cher. Held back in by Rice. Headed forward by Almiron. And it'll be regathered here by Martin Ødegaard. And it's Arsenal to continue on the ball inside the Newcastle half here with Jorginho. About 50 yards from goal. Goes across to the left to Rice. It's now with Gabriel, the centre half. Kivior. Back into the Arsenal half we go now with Gabriel on the ball. Ben White forward to Jorginho, out to the left here to Gabriel. Flicks it out to Kivior, who finds the run of Havertz, who makes a great run, and it's just taken away from him by the tackle of Botman. But it falls back to the German. He plays it inside quickly here to Martinelli. Outside the area. Plays it across to the right here to Jorginho. Lifts it through, looking for the run of Havertz. Nodded down by Trippier. And it's took on by Martinelli. He strikes it wildly over the crossbar. And again, Newcastle not being able to clear their lines there. Jorginho's pass was very complicated. It would have been a very difficult ball to get through to Havertz, as it was nodded down by Trippier. It fell straight to Martinelli, who couldn't quite divert it on target. Karius takes the goal kick. Out to the right-hand side, just beyond the halfway line. Headed inside to the left here by Trippier to Miley. Caught in possession is Guimaraes, but it's Longstaff to help it forward here. Saliba will get there first ahead of Isak, but Saliba can only head it out wide left to Kivior, who heads it down the line now to Rice. Can't keep the ball in. And midway side the Arsenal half on the far side, it will be a Newcastle throw-in. Throws it all the way back there to the halfway line. Trippier to Cher. Now to Guimaraes. She's been closed down here by Jorginho. Heavy touch. Can give it away to Ødegaard, whose deflection can't find Havertz. Kept alive here for Newcastle with their left back, Livramento. Forward for Gordon, who has been non-existent in this game. Try to turn away from White. Does do so very well. And finds Guimaraes. Wants the 1-2. But Gordon was brought down off the ball. And that'll be a free kick inside their own half here for Newcastle. Given away by Jorginho, the number 20 for Arsenal. It'll be a huge half-time speech here for Eddie Howe if he wants to try and get anything from this game. There's Longstaff caught out in possession by Rice, 25 yards out. It works itself to Havertz on the edge of the area. First cross block, straight back to Havertz, who then works it into Martinelli, squares it. Havertz, bad touch, prodded away by Miley, all as far as Rice. And Arsenal continue their attack in the final third. Martinelli's got everything to his right here. Goes across to Rice. Once more to Jorginho, then back to Gabriel. And it's Arsenal once again, who look like they're going to probably score a third. Jorginho. Back to Gabriel on the halfway line. Down the left-hand side to Kivior. Returns it to Gabriel. It's Kivior once again. Forward for Martinelli. Lays it off for Rice. Back into Martinelli, who will drive forward into the area towards the byline. Gets onto his right foot. Scoops across in. Flicked away by Botman. All as far as Saka, who tries to get onto his left foot. Then his right. He goes through plenty of bodies and gets the shot away. And it's a strong save at the near post by Karius. Took the shot on with his weaker foot there, Bukayo Saka, who's searching for his 13th Premier League goal. He's scored 6 in his last 4. He's in fantastic form at the moment, Saka. And did really well to get away from Livramento and Gordon. And work the shot away from the attempted block from Botman. And it had to be saved by Karius in the end. So it'll be a left-footed in-swinger here from Saka. Central into the area, headed on by Gabriel. It looked like it was going wide, but I think it was kept in for a deflection of Havertz. It's Guimaraes in a right-back position. Goes back into Trippier. Down the line, can't find Longstaff. Then eventually cleared by Cher. Up to Almiron, who goes down the line here to Isak. Almiron's making the run down the line. It's deflected and blocked by Saliba. Throwing for Newcastle, who've just done absolutely nothing in the Arsenal half in the opening 38 minutes. It's been nothing short of dominance from Arsenal in this game, who have only won one of their last 4 against Newcastle, which came away from home last season. A lot of the recent games have been draws. Cher into the midfield now to Guimaraes, midway side zone half. Bursts away from the challenge of Saka. Still Guimaraes, eventually bundled over by the number 7. And in the centre circle, that'll be a Newcastle free kick. It's taken short, and it's now with Trippier, 5 yards away from the halfway line. Goes across to the left centre-back here of Botman, who scored the first goal of the game through an own goal. There's Guimaraes, tries to turn away from Rice. Tackled by the number 41, but it's deflected through to the right back of Trippier, who can head it to goalkeeper Karius. And again, Newcastle surviving a scare, which was created on their own downfall. Just a loose pass towards Guimaraes, and Rice was in aggressively, and it looks like he may have caught the former Lyon midfielder, who's just needing a minute here to get his boot back on. As he was put in a bit of an uncomfortable position there, Bruno Guimaraes. So it looks like Paul Tierney just having a word here with the Newcastle physio for whatever reason. Thank you to everyone who's here. If you could like and subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic, because we've got 5 minutes left of this first half, and Arsenal lead 2-0. 2 goals in 6 minutes, an own goal from Botman and a finish from 6 yards from Kai Havertz, who scored his second ever goal against Newcastle. They've both come in home wins. One for Chelsea a couple of seasons ago, and then he's got on the score sheet again tonight, the number 29. So back underway. Botman on the edge of the area. Trippier back to Botman. Goes out to the right here to Cher. Being closed down by Martinelli. Works it down the line. It's a lifted ball looking for Isak, who can win the throw in there as it was kicked away from him by Gabriel. It's Trippier, about 5 yards away from the halfway line. Waiting to take this throw in. Throws it all the way back towards his own defensive third here to Cher, who then goes across to Loris Karius in the 18-yard box. He's going to play it out to the left here, Karius. It's a high ball, nowhere near Gordon. Easy header out wide right for White to find Saka. Back to goal. He's going back towards his own half and plays it into White. Well kept there by Saka. It's now with Raya in the 18-yard box. Takes a touch towards his right foot and then clears it long into the Newcastle half. It's headed away by Botman. Nodded out wide right by Ødegaard to Saka. Inside the Newcastle half, he's got Ben White overlapping. Doesn't use him. Goes to his left instead to Jorginho. It's now with Rice on the Arsenal left. He's got Martinelli in support. Uses him. Here is Martinelli. Back into Kivior. It's now with Gabriel. About 40 yards from goal. Jorginho forward to Ødegaard. First time layoff here to Havertz. Back to Ødegaard in the area. Saka's got space on the right. Finds him. He stands across up to the far post. Rice nods it down. Havertz wants to shoot. Can't quite do so, as he has a touch with his arm and the referee's given a free kick there. Great commentary this, mate. Thank you very much. If you are new, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be fantastic. We are also commentating on the League Cup final tomorrow, where we've got Chelsea taking on Liverpool at Wembley. As Liverpool, I'm presuming, will be watching this game and understanding that they're probably in a 3-horse title race at the moment, as Arsenal aren't going anywhere at the moment. They are following City and Liverpool. Miley just about entering the Arsenal half on the left, playing it through and behind for Almiron. The flag will stay down. It'll be a tight call. Almiron in the box, tries to go round Raya. Doesn't do so. Flag goes up eventually, but I still think that would have been a tight call. But Almiron just needs to shoot. I don't know why he's trying to take on David Raya. Try to be too technical there, the Paraguayan winger. And it'll be Arsenal now to build from the back on the halfway line with Rice. All Newcastle players are behind the ball as Jorginho has it, looking out to the Arsenal right. And then finding the pass backwards here to Saliba. Forward, out to this near side to Ben White. Inside for Ødegaard. Playing it through towards Saka, who I'm presuming is offside, and he is in the final third. And that'll be a free kick for Newcastle, who in this first half still haven't had a shot, because I'm not counting that Almiron attempt as a shot. That was him trying to go around the goalkeeper. They've just been pinned in their own half, Newcastle. It's as simple as that. It's been really poor. But it's interesting for Arsenal, because they've been the side usually struggling to score in this fixture. Because Arsenal have failed to score in 3 of the last 4 against Newcastle. That's the same amount as the previous 27. So it's usually a fixture that they've struggled to score in, but tonight it's been the absolute opposite. They've been unbelievable. It's been really good to watch this Arsenal performance so far. as it is Newcastle on the ball in their own half with left back Livramento, who's just taken up more of a narrow position, not using the full width of the pitch. It's with Fabian Schär at right centre-back. It's now a Trippier at right back. He's going to go for a long ball in behind, down the right-hand side. He's going to look for Almiron. It's a beautiful ball, but Raya's come out of his area, and he has got there and cleared it. Kivior had been done in behind there, and Raya very cleverly came out of his area to clear it. It is still a throw-in for Newcastle in the final third on the far side, and Trippier's taking it quickly here into Almiron. It's now Guimaraes midway side the Arsenal half in more essential area now. Goes out to the left here to Livramento. Gordon, as we've hit 45 minutes on the clock. And we will get 3 minutes added on here, as it looks like Newcastle will try to mount their first attack. Guimaraes, cross goes in. Header away by Trippier, from Trippier. It's played back off to Guimaraes, who can't quite work himself away from Gabriel. Good tackle and a clearance from Jorginho. Straight to Livramento towards halfway. So Newcastle can continue their pressure. Literally the first spell of pressure they've had in this first half. Going forward, they have done absolutely nothing. As Schär switched out to the left, it's a nice ball that to Gordon in the final third, who's one-on-one with Saka. Livramento's overlapping. Gordon goes for the cross on his own. Deflects off Saka. And Gordon will have to chase that down to the halfway line before Saka gets there. And he goes across to Botman. And now it's with Karius on the edge of the 18-yard box. Bit of a waste there from Gordon. The cross wasn't good enough. Bit of a low one. And could be easily deflected away by Saka. So we've got just over 2 minutes left of added on time here. It's Botman on the edge of the 18-yard box for Newcastle. 15-yard pass forward for Miley. Now a left back Livramento. He's been slowly pressed by Saka. Ball down the line here for Miley. He will find Gordon. Facing towards his own goal here. He's been clipped from behind by White. And that'll be an easy free kick to be given there by Paul Tierney. As it's a free kick for Newcastle on the near side here. Saka managed any shot on goal. I think he had one early in the first half, but it was deflected, so I don't know if that would count on target. But I'm sure he's had that shot. It was deflected. I'm pretty sure of that. I mean, I could be wrong, so don't quote me. But I think it was earlier on in the half he had the shot. I think it was at 0-0. So it is Newcastle who have had more of the ball in the last couple of minutes, something they've just not had for the entirety of the half. As Guimaraes, who needs to turn away from Jorginho, he does do so in his own half here. Plays it out to the right to Trippier. Ball over the top for Almiron. Flag goes up early. Needs to try and stay onside there. It's actually Trippier, who went offside, and it was Schär to play over the top. Flag went up pretty early there, so it's a free kick in the left-back position here for Arsenal. As for Newcastle on the road, it's a 10-hour round trip. And at the moment, it's definitely not been worthwhile. As well, it could be history for Arsenal here. Arsenal have started the year winning 5 successive league games. And that is the first time they've ever done that in their history. And they could, and it looks like they are going to extend that to 6 successive wins in the new year, which shows that they've got off to a great start in 2024 after a bit of a rocky end to 2023. As the ball goes long forward by Raya, comes off the head of Havertz straight through into the hands of the goalkeeper of Karius. As we're about to have finished the 3 minutes added on here, so we're going to wait for the referee of Paul Tierney's whistle. Ball went forward there by Raya. Havertz went for it. And a bit of a pull down there by Schär, who just needs to be careful. But after 3 additional minutes here on the end of the first half, the whistle is blown. And Arsenal lead by 2-0. They have been nothing short of dominant in the first half, and they are more than deserving of their 2-goal lead. The goal scoring started in the 18th minute, where Sven Botman diverted into his own goal. There was a corner in at the near post. It was headed towards goal by Gabriel. It was really well saved by Karius, who could only parry it in front of his defence. Botman tried to clear a first time, completely missed it. And then Livramento tried to clear it, but instead of putting his foot through it, he passed it onto the knee of Botman, who was still on the ground from his first attempted clearance, deflected off his knee, over that white line, and it was a cheap goal for Newcastle to give away, but it was everything that Arsenal deserved, and they doubled their lead 6 minutes later. Kai Havertz with the finish. It was a Jorginho ball into the box. It was touched out wide by Martinelli, but he got on the end of his heavy touch on the byline, pulled it across to Havertz, who was 6 yards out, all on his own, and it was an easy right-footed finish towards the left-hand side of the goal. And even after that goal, Arsenal have continued dominating. They've had 12 shots, 4 on target, 65% of the possession, and the other way, defensively, they've been absolutely sound. They have conceded no shots on goal at all. It's been a horror show for Newcastle. It's been nothing short of perfect for Arsenal. And at half-time here at the Emirates, it is Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. Really bad from Newcastle, and it's been their away form which has let them down this season. They've only won 3 of their 12 away games in the league this season, and 2 of them have come in the new year to Aston Villa and Forest, and they were unbeaten in their last 2 away games, Newcastle, with those 2 wins to Aston Villa and Forest, but it's just not been consistent enough. It's not been consistent enough at all for Newcastle this season as a whole, and it looks like with this performance and the result, which looks like it's going to be a loss, their first loss in 7 games, it looks like they're going to stay in 8th place. And in the Premier League, 8th place means no Europe at the moment, because with the Champions League format changing to just a huge league, there is an extra European place up for grabs, but it doesn't look like the Premier League are going to win that extra spot in the Champions League because of how poorly the English teams performed in Europe. United and Newcastle finishing bottom of their Champions League groups. So at the moment, it looks like it is just going to be that top 4 places for Champions League, and that means there'll be no extra position for Europe. So if they finish 8th, there's no Conference League, no Europa League, no nothing for Newcastle, which will be a huge downgrade to, of course, what they've had this season when they were in the Champions League. They were quite unlucky, though, in fairness, to have the group they did, with the likes of PSG, Dortmund and AC Milan. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's here. Fantastic numbers. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Make sure you're here as well for tomorrow's commentary of the League Cup final, which I am really looking forward to. I think that'll be a fantastic occasion. And let's hope for a close game, because that's what we want as a neutral anyway. Do you think Arsenal could win the Prem? I don't see why they couldn't. I do think they are at that level of Liverpool and Manchester City in their own sense, like in their own way. I'm not saying they're level to Manchester City and they're level to Liverpool in terms of way of playing and quality of players and style of play, but I just mean Arsenal can be as consistent as them 2 teams winning games. They're at that level where they rarely slip up, Arsenal, and they know from previous experiences when they do slip up, you're punished in this Premier League. You know, they had a really bad April last season and it cost them the league, but I definitely think they can win it. You know, Manchester City have shown that they're not perfect this season in the league, dropping a lot of points at home, drawing a lot of games to Spurs, Chelsea, Palace, Liverpool they've drawn to as well, and then losing away games to Arsenal, Wolves. So, you know, Manchester City have shown that they're not perfect. They can drop points, and they only just scraped through a 1-0 win today against Bournemouth in the earlier kick-off. Liverpool are probably, I'd say, being more consistent. They're just a point above Manchester City, but it does seem like Liverpool will probably be harder to beat this season. I think it's the team that you'd least like to face. You know, with the fact that they're doing well, they're in a League Cup final. They've got the Europa League coming up. They're still in the FA Cup, and they've got the likes of Salah. It looks like he's returning. So I think Arsenal can definitely win it, but with Manchester City and Liverpool, it's just, you just can't say if they will or not. It's just, I think any of the 3 can win it, in all honesty. All 3 teams have shown that they can have their own little blips, but they can also go on amazing runs. So I think it's really up for grabs, this Premier League title, which makes it really interesting, and it's what we want, really. We don't want, you know, teams running away with the league title. We want three horse races, and we've got exactly that at the moment. I think games coming up where these 3 sides play each other will be massive. I know we've had Liverpool and Arsenal play each other twice in the league. I know we've still got City to go to Anfield. We've got Arsenal to go to the Etihad. So those 3 sides do clash against each other near the back end of the season, which will be really exciting. And at the end of March, that is when Manchester City face Arsenal at the Etihad, which will be an absolutely huge game. And for Arsenal, it's their home form really that has kept them where they are. They've only lost once at home this season in 12 in the league, and that was to West Ham on the 28th of December. They've drawn two, both 2-2 against Fulham and Spurs in August and September. But they have got 7 wins in their last 8 at home, Arsenal. So they're really making the Emirates a fortress at the moment, which they need to do. And if they can, I mean, any other day, you get different performances. You're not guaranteed the same consistent performances every game from a team. But if Arsenal could perform like that in the majority of the games they've got left, they will be right up there at the end of the season with your Cities and your Liverpools. Because, I mean, if you're not watching the game, then obviously you can't see it for yourself. You're just going to have to trust my word. But if you have been watching, you can see that Arsenal have been absolutely fantastic. Their pressing has been unbelievable. They've pinned Newcastle in their own half, and they're forcing Newcastle to go long, and then when Newcastle go long, Arsenal win the first balls, and then they win the seconds if it comes to that. The pressure they're applying there. What I like about Arsenal at the moment, that they're trying those risky passes, those ones that can easily lose your possession, but if they come off, they split defences and you're in behind, and they've been taking those risks more often than not, and they've been coming off, which is what has got Arsenal into this 2-0 lead and into just such a dominant display and into such a dominant position. Don't get me wrong, they were very fortunate with the first goal, the way that one went in, with the fact that Botman and Livramento just somehow could not clear the ball between the two of them, and it went over the line. But the second goal is what we like to see. It's a really good ball from Jorginho, about midway side of the Newcastle half, just lifting a curl ball in behind for Martinelli, who touched it away from Botman, squared it across for Havertz, who somehow in the 18-yard box was all on his own. I don't understand how, but it's just really intelligent run from Martinelli. He was just hovering towards the left-hand side, but saw Jorginho had the ball and made a curved run to the opposite side, found himself on the right-hand side, Martinelli, and then got the assist with the pull back to Havertz, who really couldn't miss, even for an inconsistent forward like the 6'4" German forward. But for me, it's worrying times for Newcastle. I would be concerned of what this might end up being come the end of the 90 minutes. It does also depend on what Arsenal we get as well, because we must remember that the fact that they have played in the week, and I think it'll be very difficult for them to keep up that intensity and that energy for the whole game. But if they can keep it going for the first 15, 20, 25 minutes of the second half, it could be scary times for Newcastle. But the fact is, with Arsenal, they do have a week to prepare for their next game, which is away at Sheffield United, which you'd expect them to win by some margin, because Sheffield United have come off the back of some heavy defeats at home to Brighton, to Aston Villa, to Newcastle 8-0. I'm trying to think of some more that I've probably forgot about. So that should be a pretty good week for Arsenal to prepare for that game, knowing that they'll probably go to Bramall Lane and score some goals. What they have been doing, as we mentioned before, 5 wins in a row at the moment for Arsenal in the Premier League, and they've scored 21 in the last 5 games in the league, scoring 10 in the last 2 against West Ham and Burnley. But for some teams in the Premier League, like your Newcastle, they've got midweek games in the FA Cup. Newcastle have got to go away to Blackburn, which isn't easy, because Blackburn are under new boss of John Eustace, who was sacked very unfairly by Birmingham. So they'll be under a new manager bounce, and they'll be away from home in that one, Newcastle. So it'll be a challenge to see if they can see that result through and get themselves into the next round of the FA Cup. Yeah, Arsenal totally dominate tonight. I think maybe they'll get another 2. Yeah, I think that's what they'll be looking for. And I think as well for Arsenal, I think they'll really look at goal difference, because we know in previous seasons that has been a factor at times, and it's been that close where you want to be up in the goal difference. And the fact they've scored so many recently, Arsenal, they are, I think they've got the best goal difference at the moment in the league. They've got the same as Liverpool on 38, and they've got 5 better goal difference than Manchester City, which is impressive, because we always know Manchester City are the team that are running away with the goals scored and the clean sheets. So the fact that they've got a better goal difference than Manchester City and they are on the same as Liverpool is a good position for Arsenal to be in. So I definitely do think Arteta will send that message across, saying, look, we've dominated the game. Don't try and kill the game in terms of just pass the ball around and just keep possession. Like, go for those killer passes and get some more goals, get our goal difference up. And then, at the end of the season, it could come down to goal difference. Who knows? And at the minute, it is Arsenal who've got the best goal difference in the league alongside Liverpool. But just talking about next week's commentaries, which I'll schedule on the channel tomorrow, we are covering some FA Cup action and then some Premier League action as well in the week. So we are commentating on Monday, so we're doing 3 days in a row of commentaries. We are commentating on Monday night, where Maidstone travel to Coventry of the Championship in the FA Cup. Make sure you tune in for that one. That is going to be a really interesting game between Coventry and Maidstone. On the Wednesday, we are covering Wolves against Brighton in the FA Cup. And then at the weekend, we have got the one game, and that is Arsenal women taking on Spurs in the North London derby in the WSL. So at the moment, we've just got the 3 commentaries next week. If any more are planned, then they'll be scheduled and put on the channel. So just check the channel next week and you can see which ones I'm covering. But for sure, I'm definitely doing those 3 games of Coventry, Maidstone, Brighton and Wolves, and Arsenal against Spurs women in the WSL. But in a couple of minutes, we will get back underway for the second half here at the Emirates, a fixture which, Arsenal do like. They've won 21 games in the Premier League at home to Newcastle out of a possible 34 wins that they've picked up. 21 at home, 13 away. And I think for Newcastle, they'll have to wait even longer for that next win at the Emirates. Haven't won here since November 2010. The last time they scored here was in December 2014. They haven't scored in their last 63 shots here, which is absolutely just mind-boggling how you can be so poor away from home at another stadium. Like, I don't mind if you keep losing away at a ground, because obviously if a team's got better quality than you, then more unlikely you're going to lose. But the fact they've not even been able to score in the last 7 visits here, it just absolutely baffles me. Your thoughts on the final tomorrow? I think what you got to remember is with the final tomorrow, like, it is a final, and finals, they're just different than any other game. They just are. So people will look at the last meeting between these two and see that Liverpool battered Chelsea 4-1 at Anfield. But firstly, you've got to remember that was at Anfield. Secondly, it's not a final. Finals are just more tense. They're more, usually they are closer games, and it takes more moments of brilliance to win cup finals. Me saying that, Liverpool will probably go on and batter them now tomorrow, but I think it'll be closer than people think. I think Liverpool will win, but I think they'll win. I think they'll win 2-1. I've gone with, but I think Chelsea will be up for it big time, and I think they'll perform. I think they'll shock a few people, because Chelsea I've commentated on a few of their games in the last month, and you can definitely see the progression they're making under Mauricio Pochettino. Fantastic point last week at Manchester City. So they've shown that they can defend. And at the moment, Liverpool have got a few players out and a few players who are questionable for the finals in terms of fitness. So I think it'll be closer. I do think Liverpool will edge it, but I just don't think you should write off Chelsea. I think they could spring a few surprises, but don't quote me on that because I could be wrong. But that's what I think anyway for tomorrow's final. And in terms of tonight's game, we're going to get back underway here under the referee's whistle of Paul Tierney. It'll be Newcastle to kick left to right, Arsenal right to left. Newcastle have got all the work to do. They're still yet to have a shot in this game. They've done nothing but defend, and they've not even been able to defend that well. And can they try and turn this game around? The kickoff's been taken from Newcastle. It's to Cher, whose ball's low, controlled by Saka, cleared forward by White. Out of play, thrown for Newcastle on the halfway line, on the far side. And we are back underway here at the Emirates for the second half of Arsenal against Newcastle. It's with Karius in the Newcastle goal in tonight for a ill Dubravka, who's been in for Pope since his injury. As Karius' ball out to the left to Gordon, goes over his head. It's a throw in this time for Arsenal on the far side, just inside the Newcastle half. Ben White throws it back into his own half here to William Saliba. Forward to the halfway line to Jorginho. Back into Saliba again. He's been forced to go back to Raya. in between the sticks tonight for Arsenal. Never won in his previous 6 against Newcastle, David Raya, when coming up against them for Brentford. It looks like that's going to change tonight. Gabriel, pass forward into Martinelli, who can get it through the legs of Longstaff, kept in here on the near side by Kivior. Lays it back here into Martinelli. It's now with Gabriel on the edge of the area. Now Raya in the 18-yard box. Almiron's closing him down. Will distribute out to the right. It's a higher ball looking for Saka. Controlled fantastically. He drives inside, away from Livramento. Saka losing balance but keeps his foot and plays it to Martinelli, who slips it through for Havertz, who I think's offside. He will not finish it anyway. And I think the flag's gone for a goal kick. That's a huge chance. I'm sure he was offside. Really good play from Saka, who drove inside beyond the halfway line. Played it for Martinelli, who's passed through for Havertz. Oh, he was onside. Cher not pushing up quick enough. And Havertz in the area, 12 yards out. Shooting across goal with his left foot towards the bottom right corner. Beat Karius, but went wide of the post. And that's a huge opportunity. Should be finishing that, Havertz. I thought he was offside, but he's well on. And he's got to be getting his second goal of the game there. Not good enough from Kai Havertz, who could have had Arsenal well out of sight there with a 3-goal lead. I think Poch can turn Chelsea around if they stick. Yeah, I definitely do. I like how they've been playing recently. As Guimaraes, great ball in. Isak's touch. Can he get the shot off? He's been forced wide by Raya. Still with Isak, who needs to try and find the pass. It goes away from Guimaraes and through to Havertz, and there could be a counter-attack on here for Arsenal. Havertz on the ball, on this near side, just stopping at the halfway line, and then going back here into Jorginho, settling the play down. And it'll be Arsenal to build from the back. So close there. There's a good ball through by Guimaraes to Isak, but it was good goalkeeping for Raya to get out quickly to force Isak away from goal. It's now with Martinelli. He's got the overlap of Kivior. He's got to cross here to Jorginho, midway side the Newcastle half. Goes back out to the left here to Martinelli. Now Gabriel. Everyone behind the ball for Newcastle, bar Isak up front. Jorginho. To Gabriel. Back to Jorginho on the halfway line, being closed down by Guimaraes. She'll switch it out to the right, looking for Ben White. Perfect ball for him. Nods it down to Saka. Tries to return it, but it comes off the thigh of Livramento. And Newcastle will try and counter. Great ball through here for Anthony Gordon. Loads of room to run into down the Newcastle left. He enters the area, in the box, onto his right foot. Strikes it to the far post, but it's well held by Raya. He had to hold it as well, because Isak was there ready, licking his lips to try and score the rebound. Better though from Newcastle. Quick play from Livramento to work it to Gordon, who they didn't get into the game at all in the first half. But his shot was pretty timid in the end. Easy save, but it's a first shot for Newcastle in the game. That is now 64 shots they've had at the Emirates since their last goal. For Newcastle, it is a place they don't really score at. Say Arsenal throwing here on the near side, thrown into the Newcastle half by Kivior, straight onto the chest of Cher, who goes across here to Sven Botman, who, interestingly enough, and I'm really surprised with, Sven Botman still has no appearance for the Netherlands senior team. He was obviously so good last season for Newcastle, getting him into top 4, and I'm just surprised he's never had the senior cap for the Netherlands. Sven Botman, now at the age of 24. He missed the reverse fixture, Sven Botman, due to injury. Missed a lot of games with injury. 16 altogether with his ankle problem and knee problem that he's had this season. Guimaraes curls it into the box quickly. Goes all the way through to outside the area towards the corner flag here to Gordon, who's one-on-one with White. Gordon goes on the outside. He enters the box. It's a great run, but it's a good side challenge from Jorginho. Deflects the ball to Saka, who clears it down the line with his right foot. Did well there, Gordon, to get beyond White. Went past him like he wasn't there, but it was Jorginho on the recovery challenge to help his teammate to slide in and take it away from Gordon, who was entering the box with the only thought of trying to get a shot off and trying to get this Newcastle goal, which will put them back in the game. It's been a much better Newcastle performance in the opening 5 minutes of the second half compared to their entire 45 in the first half. It is with their goalkeeper Karius in the 18-yard box. Kicks it forward, straight down the centre of the pitch. Can't find Isak. Goes down over a challenge from Gabriel. And I think a foul's gone against him. So it'll be a free kick for Newcastle. Just a bit too aggressive there, Gabriel, on Alexander Isak. I think he just caught him in the face. I don't think it was on purpose by Gabriel, but Isak still felt it. So it's a free kick in the centre circle here for Trippier. And it looks like Newcastle are just going to float this in towards the edge of the box. Try and cause some knockdown and maybe try and get a shot off at goal if possible. Trippier sends it forward out to the Newcastle left. In the box it goes. Header won by Gabriel. And then cleared by Kivior. Straight back to Trippier, who's just had to travel inside his own half to gain the possession of the ball here. And Trippier will send it back forward again. Down the left-hand side, slightly overhit, but it's dealt with by Saliba, was taking no chances. It's gone straight to Saka, who goes forward to Ødegaard, who's in a right-wing position at the moment for Arsenal. She goes back here into Rice to keep the possession. And Arsenal will slightly slow it down, but then speed it back up with the ball into Ben White. Not got many options in front of him, so has to go across to Jorginho. Now Saka in a central area. Goes out to the left to Kivior. Furthest left Martinelli. Now got everything to his right, the Brazilian. Enters the box, goes on the outside here, Longstaff. Gets the cross in, dealt with at the near post by Cher. Now falls to Almiron, who's caught from behind there by Martinelli. And that'll be a free kick to Newcastle. That's the scary thing for the away side. You know, they've had a decent bit of possession there for the last couple of minutes, but as soon as Arsenal regained it, they were quick on the attack and was running at Newcastle with some force. But unfortunately, Martinelli couldn't make the most of that opportunity on the left-hand side. But just defensively on a whole, it's just gone so downhill for Newcastle. In the league last season, Newcastle had conceded 33 goals. This season now, in the league, they've already conceded 10 more than that. They're on 43. It's just crazy how backwards they've gone this year. You know, they didn't make loads of new signings, in fairness. They didn't overhaul the squad. Brought in 5 very strong players, one of them being Lewis Hall, who's very rarely been used from the start of matches. But in Harvey Barnes, who's been out with injury for a good few months, he's only just returned. He missed 26 games, Harvey Barnes. And then they brought in the likes of your Liveramentos, who again hasn't been a full first-team regular all the time in terms of starting. He's sometimes had to bide his time with Dan Burn playing left-back. And obviously they were a little bit unlucky with the Tonali betting ban. But it's just not the Newcastle that we're used to seeing. As it is Martinelli here on the left-hand side, plays a ball across to Gabriel, about 30 yards from goal. Like I say, every Newcastle player behind the ball, by Isak at the moment, as Gabriel has it. Finds Jorginho, who's got a run of Rice in the box, but sends it further left towards Kivior. He's going to have to chase this one down, and I don't think he'll be able to keep that one in. That should have gone for a Newcastle throw-in, and it has. So it's been a slight improvement from Newcastle, but still nowhere near good enough to probably earn anything from this game at the moment. But one goal can flip the game on its head here. There are only 2 behind. As Trippier gets the ball back from the throw from Longstaff. Finds Cher in the area. Left-footed ball forward. Finds Miley, who fires it out to the left here to Gordon. It's a good pass and he keeps it in. Newcastle wants to counter-attack and they are doing just that. Gordon into the final third. Ben White's backing off. He plays it inside to Miley. Back now into Gordon. Finds Guimaraes. 1-2. Gordon just cut out by White in the area. Good block there because that 1-2 could have been dangerous. Martinelli, touch just gets away from him. Slide tackle by Botman. Loose ball drops here to Havertz, who gets away from Longstaff, but can't get away from the tackle of Trippier. That is fantastic. And Newcastle come away with the ball. Almiron nearly overrunning it into the feet of Kivior, but can just about recover the ball and find Trippier. Now inside to Guimaraes. 25 yards out. Edge of the box is Isak, who has it on his right foot. Plays out to the right to Almiron. It's just away from him, so he's been forced towards the corner flag. Kept in, though, by Almiron. Trippier, first time cross. Works it to the far post. It's a bit too far, that. Right towards the corner flag on the opposite side. Kept in by Gordon, who can't keep it in himself. Just loses his footing on the pitch. And it's a throw-in for Arsenal in a right-back position. Needs a better delivery than that. Kieran Trippier, who's got 10 assists this season in the league, 3 in his last 4. He has got 35 assists altogether in his Premier League career. So we're still waiting for this throwing to be taken in the right-back position for Arsenal. White takes it to Rice, who volleys it forward, controlled by Havertz, but couldn't find Martinelli, who'd peeled over to that right-hand side. It's now back with Newcastle, with Trippier on the halfway line. crossing into the Arsenal half here, playing it forward into Almiron, who's midway inside the Arsenal half. Trippier's overlapping, but he finds Longstaff instead, now out to Trippier on the right. Longstaff making a run towards the byline, doesn't use him, goes across here to Guimaraes. Now Trippier again. Got Kivior in front of him, plays it forward to Longstaff, back into Trippier. To his left is Guimaraes. He's looking for the best option. He's going to look back out to the right-hand side. And plays it through into Almiron. An obvious pass on for him in terms of a run forward. So he goes back into Cher, who's joined the attack. It's now a Trippier again in the final third. He's not got the body shape for a cross. So finds Guimaraes. Plays it to the edge of the area to Isak. Lays it off to Miley. Out to the left to Livramento. This is better from Newcastle. Pinning Arsenal back in their own half. Botman on the halfway line. Being forced to go backwards by the press of Ødegaard. Cher. Ball forward. In behind. Just not near anyone. It was just right in between Isak and Almiron. He almost just had to look for one of them instead of trying to find both in the same pass. Just right in between both of them and no one was near it, and it went straight into their gloves of David Raya in the Arsenal goal. There's now Jorginho in the centre circle with it, as it's now Newcastle to do their share of defensive work. Kivior, who's been very solid at left back tonight, making his 30th Arsenal appearance. He's joining last summer from Spezia for £21 million. White in behind for Saka. He's going to chase that ball down, but he's been shrugged off it. Seen behind for a goal kick by Botman. Good defending there on Bukayo Saka, who scored back-to-back braces in those two 5-0 wins away from that 6-0 win to West Ham and the 5-0 win to Burnley. And he's close to having one of the best goal-scoring seasons of his career, Bukayo Saka. In all competitions last season, he got 15, and they all came in the Premier League. This season, in all competitions, he's got 15 as well. So if he scores one tonight, then he's bettered his tally for the whole of last season. He's now back with Raya in the Arsenal goal, in the box, being closed down by Isak. Fires it out to the right. It's going to be controlled by Livramento on halfway. And he goes back to Botman, keeping it away from Saka. Good play there from Tino Livramento. It's now with Fabian Cher, midway inside the Newcastle half. Pull the shirt there by Jorginho as he tried to wing back possession. And it's a free kick for Newcastle. They keep the possession moving. Karius clears it long, right on the halfway line. Header won by Saliba, straight into Saka, who controls it really well. Bukayo Saka out to the left towards Havertz. He's asking too much of the former Chelsea man. Out of play for a goal kick. Not his best pass in the world there by Bukayo Saka. Also closing in on 50 goals in the Premier League. Bukayo Saka is on 43 at the moment, but you would believe by the end of the season he could definitely get towards that 50 landmark. As Arsenal have won the ball back here on the halfway line with Kivior, keeping it away from Almiron, going back to Gabriel. Gabriel out to the left here to Kivior, strides into the Newcastle half, finds Martinelli. It's not as intense as the first half from Arsenal, and we did say that we may expect that they could slow it down, but in terms of goal difference, we thought they may have just kept the high intensity, but Newcastle have grown into the game since the start of this half, as Raya's clearance isn't very long, played forward by Miley, but no one there in a black and white shirt to pick up the loose ball. It's now with White forward to Ødegaard, keeps it away from Botman, finds Saka, through towards White, just goes behind him, can't keep it away from Miley, who finds Botman, who in a left-back position in the defensive third has been forced to go back to Karius, who clears it with that left foot of his, up towards Isak, who heads it out to the left here to Gordon. Touch finds Miley, headed forward towards Isak, bounces and then volleyed away by Saka. Botman heads it forward to Livramento at left-back, finds Miley, and then back into Botman. It's going to be Newcastle to bring the ball forward from the back. Cher across to Botman, midway inside the Newcastle half. They need to be careful they don't lose possession in a dangerous area, and they've done just, they nearly did. Miley's got lucky there. Guimaraes bailed him out, and if Havertz didn't lose his footing, that could have been curtains for Newcastle in this game. Guimaraes, big switch out to the left. It's perfect for Isak, who controls it well and gets beyond Ben White in the area. Isak strikes it, and it's over the bar. That's a big chance. You'd expect better from Alexander Isak, who returns tonight after missing the last 3 with a groin injury. Brought it down so well, taking up a left wing position, Isak, as Gordon went more central. And he got beyond Ben White like he wasn't there. He struggled a few times, Ben White, when he's been ran at by Gordon and now Isak. But as he was aiming towards goal, he just fired it over the crossbar, the Swedish striker. As Arsenal go long themselves, it goes beyond Havertz and through for Trippier at right back. So it's Newcastle to be back on the ball again. Like I say, they're not lost in their last 5. Newcastle, their last defeat coming to Manchester City at home, back on the 13th of January. As the Trippier pass forward deflects off Martinelli onto the head of Trippier, who can play it to Cher, who clears it first time. All as far as Kivior, who heads it down the line, looking for Rice, who nods it on himself, controlled on the edge of the area by Cher. And it goes across the box to Botman, being closed down quickly here by Ødegaard, but finds the pass forward to Miley. Then out to left back Livramento. Still inside the Newcastle half here on the far side. Livramento lays it off for Isak. The ball had gone out of play. And it's a Arsenal throw-in. But it does look like they've switched up the positions there. So it's going to be Isak playing on the left and Gordon down the middle. But it looks like they are going to make 2 changes here. Newcastle in the wide areas, and Arsenal are going to bring on a player of their own. So the Arsenal change is going to see number 11, Gabriel Martinelli, who was the assist maker for the second, for the Kai Havertz goal, making a fantastic run from the left-hand side across to the right, finding his teammate of Kai Havertz. So Martinelli will be replaced by Leandro Trossard, who you could say was harshly dropped after scoring last week against Burnley, and Leandro Trossard had 4 in his last 5, but Arteta opted to go for Havertz instead. And the 2 Newcastle changes, we'll see Miguel Almiron replaced by number 23, Jacob Murphy, who struggled with a shoulder injury in the last 2 months of 2023, and Alexander Isak, whose only real involvement was that first shot he's just had, will be replaced by Harvey Barnes. So it does look like Anthony Gordon will remain down the middle, and Harvey Barnes will play out on the left-hand side. Harvey Barnes missing 26 games with his foot injury that he picked up on the 24th of September against Sheffield United. As we're back underway, Miley heading it inside here for Guimaraes, who controls it in the Arsenal half, looking for an option, goes back into his own half here to Fabian Schär in the centre circle. It's now a Botman, being closed down by Ødegaard, goes into the midfield, cut out by Havertz, can't find Guimaraes. It's now Ødegaard, forward to Rice, into Havertz, out to Saka, one-on-one with Livramento, entering the box, goes on the outside, then onto his left foot, it's silky, it's smooth, and it's into the bottom left corner. That is brilliant from Bukayo Saka. And with 25 minutes to play, Arsenal look to be well out of sight. Bukayo Saka just cannot stop scoring at the moment. 7 goals in his last 5 now. Some say he isn't world class, but he is in world class form at the moment. Just a poor giveaway by Botman, looking for Guimaraes on halfway. Ødegaard got it forward to Rice. Good layoff to Havertz, who found the pass to Bukayo Saka, who ran at Livramento, went on the outside, then chopped back in on the inside onto his left foot and played it towards the far corner. I'm not sure if it took any deflections. Let's have a look here. Great chop to get beyond Livramento. Shot went through bodies. Just went through bodies. Don't think it took any deflection. Maybe a slight nick, but didn't really change the direction of the ball. It was always going in, beyond Karius. And it's Arsenal who lead by 3-0 at the Emirates. Really good there by Bukayo Saka, who scores his 13th Premier League goal of the season. He's Arsenal's leading scorer in the Premier League He scored 4 penalties. Scored 9 from open play. And it is 3-0. Fantastic goal there from Bukayo Saka. But that was all down to Newcastle's own doing, giving the ball away through Botman, looking for Guimaraes. But it was Arsenal who were able to pounce and make Newcastle pay for their error in the midfield. They've given themselves a 3-goal cushion, which should be enough for them to see home the 3 points. And now Arsenal do have the best goal difference in the Premier League, which could prove to mean something come the end of the season. So we've got a throw in here for Newcastle. As Saka, with that goal, scores just his 3rd goal against Newcastle, and they've all come at home. He scored in 3 of the last 4 games against Newcastle at home. As Cher goes long down the Newcastle right. It finds Longstaff. He touches it in towards Murphy. He was able to keep the ball in. No, he wasn't. Ball went out. Throwing on this near side for Arsenal in a left-back position. So we've got a quarter of the game to go here. And it's just simply not been Newcastle's night. Goal and an assist as well for Havertz. Wasn't the most magical of assists. Just laid it off to his right to find Saka, who pretty much did the rest. And I think another important stat as well. Arteta has come up against Newcastle 9 times in his managerial career previously. This is his 10th time managing against Newcastle, and he's only ever conceded 3 goals, Arteta, as manager against Newcastle, which says everything. He just knows how to shut this Newcastle side out. As Trossard on the byline tries the cross, comes off the arm of Botman, but he had them well tucked in next to his body. So it would be a corner for Arsenal on the near side. Well won there by Trossard, who somehow had loads of room down that left-hand side. It was a ball in behind, and his cross couldn't quite avoid Botman. But we do know Arsenal have been performing well from set pieces in recent weeks, mainly due to the new taker of Declan Rice, who seems to be putting in some fantastic crosses. Can we get another one of them from Declan Rice right now? It'll be his right foot to cross. Goes towards the near post. Header won by Jacob Murphy, and we'll get a rerun of the corner. Declan Rice to take once again. As Arsenal surround the goalkeeper and fill out that 6-yard box with bodies. In it goes near post again. He goes all the way through and into the back of the net. Kivior's running away in celebration. I'm not sure whose goal it will go down as. It seemed like it may have took a nick on the way through. But it is Arsenal who are 4 up here at the Emirates. They are dismantling Eddie Howe's Newcastle side. And once again, from a Declan Rice cross, Arsenal profit with a goal. It does seem like Kivior won the first header at the near post, but how did it go beyond Karius? Cross went in, Kivior won the header, and it just was flapped in by Karius. Oh, it took a deflection off someone. I think it came off Miley's arm. Kivior flicked on off the hand of Miley, which obviously deceived Karius, who tried to keep it out, but the deflection was just too much for him. Is it going on target with Kivior's original header? I think it just is. So I don't know who it will go down as. I don't know if it will go down as a Miley own goal or a Kivior goal. I think we'll have to leave that for the people who decide on those decisions. But it's an Arsenal goal nonetheless. If it is Kivior's, it's his first since the last game of last season against Wolves in the 5-0 win. This will be just his second Arsenal goal, but at the moment it is going down as a Miley own goal. So 2 own goals for Newcastle, both coming from corners which they weren't able to defend. And despite a better performance from Newcastle in the second half, because in fairness it couldn't get much worse, they have still been well off it. Harvey Barnes, final third, into the area, playing it through here for Miley, who has to leave the box to keep the ball away from White, and he finds Livermento on the edge of the area. Finds Miley again. It's now Guimaraes. Skips beyond Ødegaard and plays it into the area, in behind, for Trippier, who heads it across, but no one's attacking it. It can be dealt with by Saliba in a right-back position, storming it forward towards halfway for Botman to deal with it for Newcastle. But it was a clever ball in behind there by Guimaraes, and it was a really good header across by Trippier, but no one there attacking it. Longstaff now in a right-wing position for Newcastle. Being shepherded away there by Kivior, but a little bit too aggressive there, the Polish fullback. And there'll be a Newcastle free kick here on the near side. An opportunity for them to possibly just get this ball into the box. So it'll be Trippier to take it. Mentioned it before. Very strong with his assist making this season, Trippier, with 10 at the moment. As it looks like Newcastle are going to make a triple change. They've already made 2 with Murphy and Barnes. The first substitute is going to be Bruno Guimaraes. And with the fact they've got the FA Cup in the week, they're probably just doing this to rest him. Eddie Howe knows the game's gone in terms of 3 points and even a point even. The game's gone completely, basically. So he'll be replaced by number 28, Joe Willock, who's had a horrid time this season with injuries. Had a hamstring injury from May to October and then got an Achilles injury from November until today, where he's returned back into the team. The next change will see Sven Botman come off for Jamal Lascelles. I think this is definitely preparing for the midweek game in the FA Cup now, Eddie Howe, which is smart. Save these key players for 20 minutes or so. So from the free kick that Longstaff won, it's Trippier to put it in the area. Arsenal's line is on the penalty spot. Trippier goes deep, straight into the hands of Raya. No one even challenging him, and he quickly tries to play it forward, and it comes off the back of the referee's head. I mean, wrong place, wrong time. I sympathise a bit with the ref there. It's just unfortunate he's in the exact spot where Raya's kicked it. It wasn't the cleanest of kicks, though, by Raya. I'll back the ref with that. If the kick was cleaner, he wouldn't have hit the referee. But it will be Arsenal drop ball, and they've got possession midway side of their own half here with Declan Rice. Out to the left to Kivior. Plays it forward to the halfway line to Trossard, who gets it back towards Kivior. But it's Trossard to remain the player in charge. And he goes back into Gabriel. It's now in the 18-yard box to Raya. Switch out to the right to Saka. Pushed down to the ground there by Dan Burn. Free kick just inside their own half here for Arsenal. And they're showing Kivior here on the screen. So that's making me think that maybe they've given it as his goal. Because I think that header might have been going on target from Jakob Kivior for the 4th goal. So, and it looks like Arsenal are going to rest some players of their own here. Jorginho, I think, might take the captain's armband here. As Martin Ødegaard departs for the final 15 minutes. He was magic in the first half. Still performed well in the second, but in the first half he was really on it tonight. Martin Ødegaard. And he'll be replaced here by number 10, Emil Smith-Rowe, who in his own right has had a frustrating season. This is just his 10th appearance in the league. He's only managed 2 starts against Sheffield United in October and then Forest this year. And then Eddie Nketiah will also enter the pitch, replacing number 29 and goal scorer Kai Havertz. And the third and final change for Arsenal for now is going to be number 24, Reece Nelson. And he'll come on for the goal scorer of the third and that is Bukayo Saka. So Smith Rowe, Nelson and Nketiah on for Havertz, Saka and Ødegaard. So 3 changes there for Arsenal as they see out this game in the final 15 minutes of the 90. Out to the right-hand side here to Smith Rowe in the final third. White forward to Nelson, inside for Smith Rowe. Can't quite get away from Miley, who finds Willock, former Arsenal player. Number 28, Joe Willock, at the club from 2004 to 2021, making 78 first-team appearances, scoring 11 goals. So returning back to the Emirates tonight, Joe Willock off the bench as he gets the ball back here from Cher. Beyond the halfway line, just drifting out towards the left-hand side here, Willock, running well with it and laying it off to Harvey Barnes, who's running at Ben White, enters the box, goes for the cross, and again, no one attacking it. Went right through to the far post. Harvey Barnes has a complex look on his face, wondering why no one's committed towards that. I mean, there was players going towards it, but they were running very late at it. And beyond it went for a goal kick for Arsenal and David Raya. So it'll be a goal kick for Arsenal, as this will be clean sheet number 7 at home in the league. This will be clean sheet 8 altogether. They've only kept, 11th clean sheet for Arsenal in the league, 9th for Raya. They've also had 2 for Ramsdale. But they have had more clean sheets away from home than they have at home, which was the same as last season. They had a better defensive record away from home, Arsenal, than they did at the Emirates, as Trippier heads away, but only as far as Smith Rowe. Can't take it under control. Taken away from him by Joe Willock, who again, just drifting out to this left-hand side on the halfway line. He's got Byrne overlapping to his left. He goes back instead to Cher, who fires it out to the left now to Byrne, who's adventured into the Arsenal half here. Lays it off for Barnes. Back through for Byrne in the final third, who gets his body in front of Nelson. Tries to take on the number 24, but he's been tackled by the substitute. And it's Arsenal in possession on the edge of the area with Jorginho. Back into White. Now into Nelson. Inside to White again on the byline. He needs to clear this if possible. He does do so. Forces a clearance straight forward here for Nketiah, who holds it up against Cher but loses possession on Willock. Thanks to everyone who's here. If you could just like and subscribe if you haven't, it really helps the channel out, and it only takes 2 seconds, and it's completely free as well. And it does just help the channel out, as I think we're nearing 1,200 subscribers, which would be a really good landmark to hit. Newcastle on the right, Longstaff bringing the ball forward, being chased down by Nketiah towards the corner flag. Longstaff still has it, but he's been tackled by Trossard, who kicks it to Nketiah, who goes to Gabriel, who will clear it first time in the 18-yard box. It'll be seen through by Lascelles, who plays the pass forward very nicely into Miley. Now on the near side to Trippier, back into Miley. And all Arsenal players are behind the ball, as it's with Fabian Cher on the halfway line. Ever present this season, Fabian Cher started every game so far this season for Newcastle in the league, scoring 3 in the process and also scoring 1 in the Champions League. It was an absolute thunderbolt against PSG. As Gordon's passing behind for Murphy's cut out by Kivior, but it can't be kept for Arsenal. But as it's released there was a foul, and it's a free kick for the home side, midway side their own half, as they are 4 to the good against this Newcastle side. And for Newcastle, they were looking for their second league double over their second Premier League double over Arsenal. Their only league double against them in the Premier League was in the 94-95 season, and that for sure will not be happening this season, as Arsenal are walking to another really big victory here in the Premier League, as Raya's ball comes off Lascelles. Smith Rowe takes over and his shot's blocked by Cher. Needs to be dealt with here by Miley, who can eventually force a clearance away for a throw-in on the near side, right next to the corner flag for Arsenal. Smith Rowe looking for his first goal of the season. His last goal, Emile Smith Rowe, came back in April 2022, 675 days ago, in a 4-2 win away at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. But for Arsenal, their goal scoring recently has been ridiculous. This will be their 6th Premier League win in a row. And in those 6 wins in a row, they would have scored 25 goals. That is ridiculous. And it is marks of a team who are confident. Oh, yes. Thank you. Didn't change the scoreline. Sorry. Apologies there. Yeah, 4-0. My bad, not remembering to change the scoreboard. Sorry about that. There you go, 4-0. Thanks for the reminder there in the chat. So it's Newcastle on the ball now, on the far side, with Willock, who's been a bright spark for Newcastle since coming on. He's not been on for long, but played with energy since he's been on. Trippier goes to Lascelles. Again, Arsenal got everyone behind the ball at the moment, as it's just Newcastle with possession at the back. Bird finding number 15 of Harvey Barnes, who's brought in from relegated Leicester for £38 million. Scored on his return back to the team against Luton in that 4-4 draw. There's Miley, shields the ball away from Smith Rowe, and it's back in the Newcastle half here with Cher. Now Burn at left back. They're trying to find the ball in the Newcastle half, but they're struggling. Press from Arsenal is high at the moment. Has been forced back to the goalkeeper of Karius, who sounds ridiculous with the fact they've conceded 4 goals, but he hasn't had a bad game. The first goal was an own goal, which had nothing to do with him, and he actually made a ridiculous save to stop the ball going in from the corner originally, and then it was his teammates who couldn't clear the ball, and they were the ones who put it over the line. The fourth goal was also an own goal, which deflected towards him, and he nearly kept it out, but the deflection just didn't help him at all. And then the Saka goal went through quite a few bodies, and the second one was a finish from 6 yards out, which, you know, many goalkeepers would struggle with. And he's made half-decent saves. I just don't want, you know, after his Champions League era for Karius, obviously he went under so much just hate and so much disrespect. It's almost like his career was just thrown to the floor when he actually had a decent season that year for Liverpool. And it was just that big mistake which really cost him. And there shouldn't be a narrative that he's just a rubbish goalkeeper, because he's not a rubbish goalkeeper, really, is it? He's been playing at the top level of football in Europe for pretty much his whole career, playing in the Bundesliga before Liverpool. And then, you know, he played 49 times for Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp. You're not a bad strike. You're not a bad goalkeeper when you play that many times under Klopp. He's just had one horrific error in a game, and it's cost him his career, really. And he, against Manchester United last year in the League Cup final, when he had to step in, he played okay. And I think he's done all right again tonight. You know, 2 of those goals, he definitely couldn't do nothing about. I just don't want them to be... I just don't like there to be an image of Karius that he's this utterly useless goalkeeper, because at the end of the day, he's human, and he is a good goalkeeper on his day when he wants to be. But when your confidence gets shot the way his did, the way he was attacked after that final, you know, there's no surprise he couldn't really recover quickly. But he settled at Newcastle as a third choice, so fair enough to him, if that's the life he wants to go down. As it's at Arsenal, defending at the moment. Burn forward from left back, crossing the ball in, header towards goal, and it's off the post and in. I've just mentioned his name and how he has been really energetic since coming off the bench, and that is Joe Willock. And he's looped a header over David Raya into the Arsenal goal, scoring against his former club, Joe Willock. And that's a terrific, well-worked goal. Down the left-hand side, Barnes crossing the halfway line, driving inside and then playing it through for Gordon, who was forced out wide. He waited for the run of Burn on the overlap, played it to the left-back, who just floated it into the near post, and arriving late was Willock. And from around 6 yards out, he headed it towards that far corner. It looped over Raya, who had absolutely no chance. Clean sheet out the window for Arsenal. Off the post and in. Really good header from Willock, and it's a consolation for Newcastle. And they'll be very glad that Joe Willock is returning from injury. He's returned tonight from his latest setback, which has been an Achilles injury. And he's got 1 back for Newcastle. It's Arsenal 4, Newcastle 1. Well-worked goal, that, from Newcastle. Down the left-hand side with Burn and Barnes linking up with Gordon involved as well. And it was well finished in the end by Joe Willock, who scores his 2nd goal of the season in all competitions, but his first in the Premier League. His other goal this season came in the League Cup win away at Old Trafford. And it's Barnes now, finding Burn. Has he just overran that? Yes, he has. Touched slightly too heavy. Out for a goal kick for Arsenal, who will not be keeping their 11th clean sheet of the season in the league. What you think? Can Newcastle score a goal Yes, they can score a goal because they just have. I'm joking. I know that comment came in before the goal. Arsenal last 5 games scored more than 4 goals. I know it's absolutely ridiculous the amount of goals they've been scoring. Arsenal scored 4 tonight, 5 last week, 6 the week before. So, it's now 25 goals they've scored in their last 6 games, only conceding the 3 as well. So not just been scoring the goals, they've also been keeping them out at the other end, usually. And in fairness, I don't even think there's a lapse of concentration in that one. I just think it was just well-worked goal. Sometimes you've just got to applaud the goal that goes against you, and it was a decently worked goal. As we are eventually going to get this goal kick taken, as we are running out of time here at the Emirates. It's been a game full of goals, nothing less than you'd expect from an Arsenal game at the moment. But make sure you're here tomorrow as well. Big game, 3 o'clock kickoff. Chelsea taking on Liverpool in the League Cup final, as the goal kick was short there from Raya, helped out wide by the head of Saliba, and it's Newcastle who have picked up the possession here. Lascelles' short ball just about gets there ahead of Nketiah. Cher goes forward out to the right, headed forward by Kivior away from Murphy, and it's now in the Arsenal half here with Gabriel left centre back. Goes across to number 2, William Saliba, who gets away from the press of Gordon and finds Ben White at right back, chips it down the line. Nketiah's making a late run. He's going to chase it here. Karius will enter the game outside of his box and clears it down the Newcastle left. Free header for Ben White. Same for Byrne. Nods it into Barnes. Last touch comes off the former Leicester winger, and that'll be an Arsenal throwing on halfway. Arsenal, it's a goal machine. It is a goal machine. And it is a goal machine that wasn't there in the week against Porto, but they've been back on the goals tonight. Obviously just a little blip against Porto in the week, losing the game in the 94th minute. As before we get the throw in, we're going to get a final Arsenal change. It's going to be Jorginho, who's stepped in. Doesn't start often, but when he does, he performs, and he's done that again for Arsenal tonight. It's only his second start in the last 14 in the Premier League. But he'll be replaced here by number 25 of Mohamed El Neni, who's making his 90th Premier League appearance. His only goal in the Premier League came away at Newcastle in May 2021. He was signed up for a new contract in February of last year to see his stay through here till 2024. And El Neni, in fact, admitted that he cried when Arsenal asked him to stay for an extra year, as he thought his time was done at Arsenal after suffering with injuries last season, with a thigh problem and then a knee problem for 8 to 9 months. As we're back underway here, and it looks like we've had a slight collision of heads between Cher and Nketiah, as Jorginho is being congratulated by his teammate of Aaron Ramsdale for his fantastic performance. As it does look like, I've heard that Aaron Ramsdale will be looking to force a move away from Arsenal, and you completely understand why. He is a goalkeeper who should not be sitting on the bench every week. He needs to be playing every week. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, and I always find it snide from Arteta, because he got Aaron Ramsdale on a new contract in May of last season until 2026, and then that summer he bought in Raya. It's like, why would you sign up Ramsdale to a new deal and then bring in a new contract? It just seemed a little bit unfair for me. But it's football, isn't it? It's a very harsh business. So we're 20 seconds away from the 90 being played. We're back underway. Both plays are fine. I think it was a little slight grazing of heads. And we're back underway with White hurrying a clearance into the Newcastle half. It will go out for a throw in here for the away side, as it does look like Nketiah. I think that is Cher, waiting to be waved back on by Paul Tierney. As it's Newcastle on this near side. Jacob Murphy, he's going to run at Kivior here. Takes a big touch out of play. Not very good that from Jacob Murphy. Couldn't even play a straight touch in front of him. He kicked it out of play. Throwing for Arsenal in their own half as they want to try and see this game out. They don't want to concede any more goals here, Arsenal. Don't want to lose grip of that goal difference that they're building up at the moment. My prediction for the Premier League: Liverpool second. The one's in the way. So Liverpool first, Arsenal second, City third, and Villa fourth. I agree with Villa fourth. I think they will nick that last spot. And then they fight the top three. I don't even know what. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, with Manchester City's history, recent history of winning Premier Leagues, you can't rule them out. And then Liverpool under Klopp, his final season, they'll have that extra drive. And then Arsenal will have the extra drive from last season, the fact they threw it away. So it's hard to. I mean, it's a solid prediction. I just don't want to put any predictions out there because it's a hard one to predict. I don't do predictions. So, yeah. I do predictions. That's just a saying that no one will get. Don't matter. Karius clears long for Newcastle. Deep into the Arsenal half. Headed forward by Gabriel. Headed back forward by Murphy. Straight to El Neni on halfway. And here's Arsenal, who will try and see the clock down here. 5 minutes added on. Sorry, I forgot to mention. I don't know if I did mention. 5 minutes of added on time here at the end at the Emirates Stadium. As Gabriel goes long over the top. Clips it in behind. Can't find Trossard. Straight through for Karius and the Newcastle goal. Formerly of Manchester City, Karius, for 3 years during his youth days. From 2009 to 2012. Left for Stuttgart. As Nelson takes it off Dan Burn. Nelson in the box, squares it, deflects through for Smith Rowe, who shoots towards goal. Good block off the line by Burn. Karius was beat. Good block. And out for a corner it goes off Willock. Defending against Trossard. And for Emile Smith Rowe, who is waiting for his first goal in almost 2 years. Oh, he beat Karius. It's a good block, though, off the line. But that's just really frustrating for Smith Rowe, who's been waiting so long for a goal. It's a bad giveaway by Burn. Good work, though, by Nelson to win the ball back. So Rice is over it again. Smith Rowe short, plays it to him. Rice is on the angle, plays it back to Declan Rice, who squares it for Nelson on the edge of the box. Goes for the shot towards the bottom left corner. Reversed it there, trying to catch out Karius, but he was equal to it. And the goalkeeper rolls it out quickly to the left-hand side here to Share into this path of the Newcastle goal scorer of Joe Willock against his former side. Left Arsenal for £25 million, so they made a good bit of money on the academy graduate of Joe Willock, who scores his 15th Newcastle goal tonight, his second of this season. Harvey Barnes bringing the ball forward into the Arsenal half. He's got Smith Rowe in front of him, plays it to the right to Willock, tackled by Nketiah. And Nelson plays it in behind for Nketiah, who will give chase to it. Scher's got a bit of a head start, and he puts in a really expert tackle there, Fabian Scher, to take the ball off Nketiah on the Arsenal right. And then Scher plays it through here for Gordon, who again will give chase, but this time Saliba's got the head start, and he cleans up for Arsenal and receives the ball back from Raya. And with just over a minute to go here, Arsenal are seeing out this 4-1 victory at the moment. Kivior at left back. Forward to Smith Rowe, who's just drifted out to the left-hand side here. He's got Miley chasing him. Smith Rowe will keep it. Smith Rowe keeps running forward into the final third now. Towards the byline. Smith Rowe, what a run this is. Gets away from Miley. Squares it. Turn. Trossard tries to lay it off for Nelson. It deflects to Rice on the edge of the area. And the attack's just slightly died down. Cross goes in. White towards Smith Rowe. It's gone behind by Smith Rowe. And wide of the post, and it's a goal kick, and we've got 40 seconds left. City, Liverpool, Arsenal. It's just a British City last, and now it was unstoppable. Yeah, you know what? I will put a prediction out there. Go on. No, it's not fair that I don't. That's me sitting on the fence, and we don't like that. I'll go. I don't know. City, Liverpool, Arsenal. I'll go with the same as JH in the chat. The only change I'd make is half of me, I'm really 50-50 on Liverpool or City winning the league. Because the fact it's Liverpool's final year with Klopp, that extra drive, they've really performed well this year compared to their drop-off last year. They've gelled together all their new signings. So I just don't know who's going to win it. I definitely think Arsenal won't. I think Arsenal will be close in third. I don't think they'll be off it. I think they'll be close. But between first and second, I don't know. I'm going to go with City, but it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool nick that title. As here at the Emirates, we have seen Arsenal come out on top. The full-time whistle has been blown. It finishes here, Arsenal 4, Newcastle 1. It was a performance which Arsenal will be proud of. The best football came in the first half, but they continued to be as strong in the second. The first goal was scored through an own goal by Sven Botman, not being able to clear a corner after a fantastic save from Karius. Lead was doubled 6 minutes later. Havertz getting on the end of a Martinelli pullback. And then after half-time, Arsenal weren't quite at the same intensity, but they were still the same threat when going forward. Same threat when going forward. Saka, 20 minutes into the second half, gave them the third. Receiving the ball from Havertz, cutting inside onto his left foot and scoring a cross goal. And for Saka, that is now 7 goals in his last 5 in the Premier League. And just 4 minutes later, Kivior scored for Arsenal from another corner. He headed it at the near post. It took a deflection off Miley, but I think it was going on target. And off the Miley deflection, it went beyond Karius to make an Arsenal 4, Newcastle 0. But the away side were able to get a consolation goal. It's their first goal at the Emirates since December 2014. It ends a run of 7 successive clean sheets for Arsenal at home against Newcastle. So that's a very unwanted record changed for Newcastle. It was a Willock header from a Dan Burn cross, looped it over Raya into the far post, took a nick off the post and in. It was a fantastic work goal from Newcastle, who were much better in the second half, but still just not at it to match the levels of Arsenal tonight. And here at the Emirates, after a goal frenzy, 5 altogether, it finishes Arsenal 4, Newcastle United 1. Thanks to everyone who did listen. If you are starting to take off, then make sure you like and subscribe before you go. Make sure you're back as well for tomorrow. Big game, Chelsea-Liverpool League Cup final. I'm really looking forward to it. First major piece of silverware on the line in England, and it's either going to be Chelsea or Liverpool to take it. So make sure you join in for that one. 3 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. We've got 3 commentaries confirmed for next week. Coventry against Maidstone in the FA Cup on Monday, and then Brighton, Wolves on the Wednesday, and then WSL women's action as Arsenal take on Spurs. I believe that is on the Sunday as well. What do you think of for Man United this season? Can they play in Champions? Oh, I don't know. I think it's too far gone for them. For me personally, I don't think they would be able to get over Villa, and I think we'll be asking a lot if they can get 5th place over Spurs. I think for United, I think it's going to be a 6th place finish. I just don't think they'll have enough to get above Spurs or Villa, whoever finishes in that 4th place. Great commentary, mate. Thank you very much. That's an info. So good. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow for the final. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all, hopefully, for the final tomorrow, because it will be a really exciting commentary. The energy levels will be high. Well, they always are, obviously, of course. But I'll be extra up for it for the final, because I don't think I've commentated on a League Cup final since I've been doing commentary for the last 5 years coming up to now, which is scary to think I've been doing it for that long. Don't really commentate on many finals because I just don't believe I just don't think the views will be as high as I just don't usually think it'll be worth it, because obviously people prefer watching other live streams and watch-alongs, which is fine. But I want to start doing more finals now, because they are the most exciting fixtures, that's for sure. And I also want some experience of commentating on finals. It's 7 on the table, 47 points off 6. Man United are on 44. Spurs are 5th, 47, but a game in hand because Spurs are meant to play this weekend, obviously, but I think they were meant to play Chelsea, so their game's been postponed, so Spurs won't play. And then Aston Villa are on 52. So for United, it is an 8-point gap from top 4. That's a big gap, and I think it'll be too much for them. Because we know Villa can play. I know they've been on a bit of a bad run at the moment, Aston Villa, but they did pick up a nice win today at home to Forest, 4-2. So I think it'll be too much for United for Champions League, and that 5th spot, I think that'll be a close one, but I think Spurs will have the quality. If Spurs can get all their players back, they'll run away with that 5th spot, and even Spurs, they'll be looking for the 4th spot themselves. Definitely Spurs and Villa for 4th. Yeah, it'll be close, that one. I think it'll be a really good battle between Villa and Spurs for that 4th spot. I look forward to seeing how it ends up. Because if Spurs win their game in hand, they're just 2 off Aston Villa. So it should be a really interesting fight for that 4th spot. I just think Manchester United is just too far off it to catch them up for that 4th spot. And then the race for that title, it is getting really interesting, isn't it? Arsenal on 58 points in 3rd, Manchester City in 2nd with 59 points, and Liverpool top with 60. Just 2 points separate the top 3. We have got a real 3-horse race now. From now until the end of the season, these teams have got 12 games left now, and it is all to play for. Arsenal last season had it in their hands, but they threw it away in April, winning just 6 points from a possible 15 in the month of April, giving it to Manchester City. But they want to try and win their first Premier League, Arsenal, for 20 years. If they do it this year, it might be their most impressive of them all. I know they've gone invincible in the season, but to win a league ahead of a Manchester City Pep team and a Liverpool Jurgen Klopp team, that'd be a serious, impressive title win. But it's all to play for in the next 3 months of the season, and it's going to be so good. Make sure you subscribe on this channel, because the commentary's coming up now from the end of the season. They'll all be big games. They'll all be huge games, so they'll definitely be worth tuning in for. Dane, thank you for joining and getting involved in the chat. I enjoyed the conversation we've had, and other people who were getting involved as well. So thanks for getting involved in the chat, mate, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks to everyone else who gets involved as usual. It does help it helps the stream out massively when you get involved. And thank you for the numbers. I didn't know how many people were going to get in, but at most at the end of the first half we got 33 people in, which was good. And then for the majority of that second half, we had at least 12, 13, 14, 15 people. So that's a good number for me to have. So I appreciate all of you who have tuned in and who have liked, subscribed, and all that good stuff. But that is going to be the end of this live commentary. Make sure you're here tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Chelsea-Liverpool League Cup final. And then again tomorrow, I'll remind you all of the commentaries coming up for next week, because we've got 3 confirmed. I've already mentioned them before, but I'll mention them again tomorrow. But that is going to be the end here. Make sure you like, subscribe if you haven't already. Here at the Emirates, Arsenal have continued their goal-scoring form. That is now 25 goals in their last 6 Premier League games, which they've won all 6. They are on a great run at the moment. They are keeping on track with City and Liverpool just trailing the top place by 2 points. For Newcastle, it's one to forget. It's now 3 wins in 13 for Newcastle away from home in the league. They've really dropped off. Those European places are getting further and further away for Newcastle. They've been outclassed. They've been outplayed. They've got work to do in this Premier League season. But here tonight at the Emirates, it finishes Arsenal 4, Newcastle 1.